Joined by Ed and Lorcana Goons, and we've got a big old game coming up in the EU versus NA tournament. But it's almost starting. Ed and Lorcana Goons, welcome to the channel. How are you guys doing?
Thanks, man. I'm doing really good.
Get in. And then how's it going
thanks.
over there?
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here watching some Ruby Amethyst and Ember Steel gameplay.
Absolutely. Is it still raining in California, Ed?
No, it's nice and sunny outside now.
Okay.
So,
I came a week too early then.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm actually in California, but I'm in Southern California, so it's like sprinkling outside here. Okay. So yeah, I got the rain this weekend.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick look at, before the game starts, we're going to take a very little quick look at what we're watching. It's NoImNot versus Karsten, two of the best players in the game, both representing, of course, their respective continents. NoImNot with a top 16, top 32. Also was very high seed in Seattle recently, I know as well, going into day 2. Karsten, the winner of Lorcana Challenge Lille, also got a top 32 in Bologna, and very well known for his Magic the Gathering skills, part of the broadcast team on a lot of Magic the Gathering events, and a Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer. Quick look at the deck list. We've got NoImNot on Ruby Amethyst. The game is just about to start, so I want to make sure we don't miss anything. We can take a more detailed look at these lists as we go. And then on the other side, we've got Karsten with a really spicy take on Amber Steel songs, with the Simba Pride Protector being the most interesting inclusion of all, being a new Shift 3 option, which of course then can sing a whole new world. But the players are shuffling, so I'm going to pull up the player screen, and then we'll get a bit more of the thoughts from Ed and Lorcana Goons. So, Ed, you've played a lot of Ruby Amethyst. You won, of course, a Disney Lorcana Challenge playing Ruby Amethyst. What do you think about this matchup for Kendall or NoImNot playing Ruby Amethyst against Amber Steel songs?
Yeah, so I think after Elsa came out, I think the matchup got actually a lot better. I think before Amber Steel was kind of able to kind of run away with the game very easily. But I think now with Elsa being able to kind of stabilize on turn 5, I think the matchup has turned back into Ruby Amethyst's favor. But, you know, Amber Steel still has those kind of very good draws where they can go like triple daisy, or I've seen some, you know, just any 1-drop into 2 1-drops has made it so, you know, it's actually very hard to deal with all those characters, especially on the play. So, you know, if they do that, you'll probably still lose regardless.
And Lorcana Goons, you've also, was it Ruby Amethyst you also played to get, was it a top 16 finish?
Yeah. Ruby Amethyst is my deck of choice, my favorite deck. Thanks, by the way, for mentioning that. But yeah, I have to agree with that. I think in general, the matchup used to feel pretty polarizing. Sometimes it felt like you just drew into your removal when they drew Whole New World, and you can't really do anything about that. But yeah, having cards like Elsa in the deck makes it a lot more, I would say, like a winnable situation. I think crabs are really important in this matchup too. Having the access to 1-drop, 2-drop, and crab to swing into like cards like Daisy is like super important. I like to say that the matchup isn't as like one-sided as some people make it out to be. Like I've heard people say, "Oh, Amber Steel is a hard matchup for Ruby M," right? And I disagree. Like I think if it ends up in your favor and they Whole New World you and you don't have 2 B preps in your hand before that, you just draw into the B prep again after that. Or, you know, in some other cases, if you're playing a Sisu Dragon or some other removal cards, you draw into those instead.
Yeah, I have to say it's a matchup which I'm not that familiar with, despite it being one of the most classic matchups in Lorcana history. Really, these decks have been staple decks throughout the history of the game. How much do you guys think the die roll at the start of this best of 3 is going to impact things? So the player going first, how much of an advantage do you think that is? We'll start with Ed.
I think it's huge. Specifically, you know, if they get to open Cindy and let the Storm Rage on your 1-drop, it's really going to turn the pressure onto the Ruby Amethyst player to kind of catch up. And usually it's very hard unless you open like 2 more 1-drops, because they can kind of just chain together these removal spells and then like sing Whole New World, and you're basically left with no board and no hand, right? So I think in this matchup, winning the die roll is huge. And I'm not sure who, I think the game is getting started, but yeah, whoever won the die roll definitely be favored in this matchup.
Yeah, so just to explain to everyone how this is working, this is NA versus EU. This is the 3rd round. But the players are playing via Pixelborn Connect, and this little blue bar that you can see on the screen is an area where we're able to see what's in each player's hand, but for example, Frank Karsten is not able to see NoImNot's cards below the blue bar. Anything below the blue bar is hidden from view from your opponent, and this just allows us to get a real in-depth view as to all of those micro decisions that each player is going to be making. And I'm already noticing a signed Be Prepared. It's really awesome with the NA versus EU. You see, I see a lot of cards I'm not used to seeing signed. Like Be Prepared, I've never seen a signed copy of Be Prepared in Europe.
I love the signed cards. We have so many events here in the US where you have like a bunch of artists that get to pull up, whether it be like official Lorcana events or just unofficial Lorcana events that are being hosted. There's so many artists that have been pulling up to the events to just sign people's cards. I think it's dope.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at the mulligan. We'll start with Kendall or NoImNot. What are you guys thinking about this, Ed, with his mulligan? Looks like he's keeping 2 brooms and considering getting rid of 5 cards. Keeping those magic brooms. And then on the other side, it looks like Frank Karsten also going for 5. But keeping Strength of a Raging Fire and Lawrence, which are definitely 2 cards you wouldn't necessarily expect Frank to be keeping. Any opening thoughts, guys, on the mulligans here?
I like Frank's mulligan if he knows he's going into the Rubiam matchup. I think Lawrence is such a crazy card against Rubiam. The 4 strength, 4 willpower thing, it makes it so that you have to have Fox. If not, you're going to have to trade possibly 2 bodies into that 1/3 drop, which just does not feel good at all. So I can kind of see where that's coming from. I'm going to assume that NoImNot is going first because he decided to do his mulligan first. So
yep.
So I think also if you're going second as an Amber Steel player, having a 3 drop that can just contest multiple characters on the board is really strong, kind of try and contest the tempo. And then he ended up seeing a Smi after that. So the only thing missing from Frank's hand is the 1 drop, either Cindy or any 1 drop to kind of get that curve. But I really like Kendall's mulligan. I think in Rubiam, I'm sure Ed would agree, a lot of times you want to mulligan away like up to 5-6 cards sometimes because you just want to see your curve of like 1 drop, 2 drop, Flynn, Sea-Stew, or even just like 1 drop into a crab. 2 brooms into a crab would be really good, I think, for NoImNot's situation against his matchup 2 going first.
Yeah, I mean, he's not running crab, so yeah, you can't see that.
That's true, yeah.
But I think he got pretty fortunate here that, he was able to see 3 1-drops in his opener because he only runs like the 6 1-drops. Like, I think ever since, the George, Kendall, Luca days of just the 4 brooms, they just love like playing just the 4 and just try to get those in their opener. And I think he will probably get punished for this, but I mean, not in this particular game. But usually, you do miss those 1-drops occasionally, and it'll really come back. But I think his hand is pretty good here, especially on the play. He can do the 1-drop into 1-drop thing, and if he's able to kind of brawl whatever character Frank plays out, I think he's in really good shape.
Yeah, and it is going to be the GOAT going into the Inkwell, and no surprise to see a magic broom kicking things off. Frank Karsten, mulligan 5, did not find a 1-drop in either of those 5 cards drawn. Can they find the 1-drop at the last possible moment, however? With those 2 Robin Hoods, a 1-cost Robin Hood might be a nice option. Cindy off the top.
That's just how it is.
Frank basically perfectly planning his mulligan. Mulligan 5 could have been a little bit more aggressive, maybe getting rid of the Strength of a Raging Fire, but decided to hold on to it. Almost was punished, but works out well in his favor. It's going to be the Fox drawn by Kendall off the top. And is there ever a world here, guys, that you think, NoImNot's going to just play one of these 1-drops, or do you think he's always going to be playing both?
I'm pretty sure
I think it's both. Yeah.
It's kind of...
Okay, I wouldn't do this personally.
Yeah, it's interesting to see.
I would keep...
Sack. What do you think about this?
I think I did some interviews like after I played against, in Dallas about what you want to be doing in the early game. And I think it's very important to kind of have board pressure because of the whole new world being able to like just rip your whole hand. So I think in this spot, I think the main thing I would be thinking about is, do I want to ink this Brawl or Fox in order to like develop as many 1-drops as possible?
What do you think about it, Kevin?
Yeah, I would agree. I probably wouldn't have triggered the room immediately, but I would have been thinking about inking either the Brawl or the. I mean, I would have agreed on that, and probably would have inked the Elsa too, though, because I'm thinking Elsa's a little bit further into the game. I kind of like keeping Fox and Brawl, but I can see why he wanted to draw first to see maybe he didn't want to ink any of those cards. Unfortunately, he did draw a rabbit off that though, so he had to ink the Elsa.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think inking Elsa is a huge mistake actually right now,
Hmm.
especially when you're on the play, because I think it basically allows you to take down anything that Frank would be able to play on turn 4.
Hmm.
So I would highly consider inking the Brawl or Fox depending on this particular run out.
Hmm. Hmm.
So fascinating that we're barely 2 turns into the game, but there's already some really controversial and complex decisions. It's going to be Mr. Smee coming down on turn 2 for Frank Karsten, inking that Robin Hood, and did draw into Whole New World this turn as well, but doesn't currently have a easy shift target. Of course, Cinderella Stout-Hearted is a shift target, but not just yet. Of course, often with Whole New World, you're looking to shift in on turn 3 with Robin Hood, or in Frank's deck, that's Simba as well. So that Whole New World not going to be active for a little while, but does still have that Lawrence for a nice turn 3 play. Kendall's going to double quest with the Chernobyls and Magic Brooms, putting them up to 3 lore. Looks like they're going to stay put. It's going to be brought into the Inkwell, and in comes the Fox. Picks up the Magic Broom, which means that this Chernobog's Follows is going to be left down on the board.
It's very interesting. I wouldn't have played this at all. Like I wouldn't have played it this way at all. Because I think my game plan when I saw that opener would be 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop into like a Brawl, into like a 4-cost draw card, into an Elsa. I think that's, especially on the play, I think that's extremely powerful against Amber Steel. So I think that's kind of the line I would have considered.
Hmm.
I do
So
also
Frank
just want
draws
to quickly
another.
mention, guys, that this stream is sponsored by Card Market. Card Market is a great place to buy your singles online in Europe, and they continue to support my channel, so thank you very much to them.
So Frank drew another Robin Hood for turn. I know he's inked 2 Robin Hoods already. I wonder if he's considering inking the 3rd one. Especially because Robin Hood doesn't really feel good against the Ruby-Am matchup, right?
With that Madam Medusa, is
It's
that what you've got in mind?
Yeah, because you're getting close to that Medusa range. There's no shift target.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like if you're not able to shift early, it's not that powerful.
Mhm.
And
So
it is
he
Robin
does
Hood
ink
into
the
the
3rd
ink,
one.
and in comes that Lawrence, which was, of course, kept in the mulligan. Now, Cinderella could quest, but there's a couple of songs available to sing. Strength of a Raging Fire and that new card, I'm Still Here. Neither was selected. I'm Still Here gives a character of your choice resist 2 until the start of your next turn, I believe, and also draws you a card. Kendall inking the Magic Broom. Only has 6 1-drops, but has found an awful lot of them. But then in comes this new Genie card. Evasive, draws Kendall a card and draws into that Elsa just in time for turn 5. Decision now on whether to quest with the Fox and also the Chernobog's Followers. What are you thinking, Kevin?
Yeah, you don't. I don't think you quest with Fox because like Fox is like the only thing that can contest me comfortably. And if you do, then he gets a really good. I mean, Lawrence comfortably, right? And if you do, then Frank gets a nice me trade there. Yeah, I think you just pass. I think patience is a very important concept in Lorcana. Ink pass is a great play, or ink, just play a character and pass is a very good play in this game. And both players are kind of doing that. They're just waiting to see who's either gonna strike first or who's gonna, decide to make a more proactive move. So Frank is gonna play Ariel, see if he gets a song off of these.
Finds Let the Storm Rage On, which of course has to be revealed, and the rest go down to the bottom. So now the Cinderella has 3 different options to sing. What do you guys think about this new card, I'm Still Here? Do you think it's going to continue to make the cut in these Amber Steel song decks?
I don't know. It's not my favorite card personally. I think it's cool. But you know what's crazy is that like when you give a resist to like a character that can quest for 2, like Smee or Lawrence, then it does become such a crazy card, right? But I don't know if it makes the cut. I'd like to think that there's going to be stronger songs that get released in the next set or even like as the meta progresses, because the players can't change their lists anymore. They've been locked in for 2 rounds already. So I imagine there's some cards that some of these players want to move in and out of their decks already.
I mean, I think the problem with the card is like it takes away some of your lore pressure by having to sing instead of questing. And I think in a lot of matchups, questing is actually quite important. So I think this card will probably not make it after this tournament.
To play devil's advocate, there aren't that many inkable songs which let you draw a card in Amber Steel. So I can definitely see a world that it sneaks in. I don't think it's ever going to be a card you play 4 copies of. But if you're looking for an inkable song card to bolster your song count to improve your aerial consistency, I think that's the main reason that Frank's considered it here. It's definitely an interesting option. There is also a new 2-cost Amber song, which puts like a 2-cost character from your discard back into your hand. if you're playing like a dock version of Amber Steel, that could be interesting. But I honestly quite like the look of I'm Still Here. It's going to be Strength of Raging Fire, actually sung by Lawrence, which I'm a little bit surprised to see. Was it sung by Lawrence? Yeah, it looks like it was. What do you guys think about this? Not singing with Cindy.
I mean, just the shift Cindy line is next turn,
Right.
so I can respect that. I can respect putting, but at the same time, you also kind of give away the information to Kendall. You're kind of letting Kendall know that you do have shift Cindy. At least that's what I would assume, right? If you didn't sing with the Cindy, or he could even be just trying to sing the other song that we're just talking about to draw a card to get resist +2.
I think something interesting here is that because he wasn't able to brawl this Cinderella earlier, now he's kind of put at a fork. Like in chess, there's like forks, right? Where you have to kill only one thing or banish one character only. And next turn, next turn he's gonna, or I think Frank is trying to set up this Cindy where he has 2 singers for for a whole new world, and he's gonna be in a bad spot. So if we just kind of went with the line earlier where we brawl the Cindy and then go for this Elsa play on this Ariel, we could have kind of avoided this situation altogether.
So Frank inks I'm Still Here. Still has that Smee, Ariel, and Cindy ready and waiting. Frank looks like he's going to pass it back on over to Kendall. I have to say the way Frank's playing this really, really fascinating. Love the use of Strength of Raging Fire, which let's not forget was kept in. Looks like it is still Frank's turn and hasn't passed. My apologies for that. But Frank kept this Lawrence and Strength in the opening hand, and I was really surprised by that mulligan to see those kinds of cards kept when he was lacking the 1-drops. But you can really see the idea of Frank's game plan here. Being able to deal with that 2/4 evasive genie with Strength of Raging Fire really just helps him to slow the lore gain down of NoImNot, who of course, when NoImNot's going first, it's Frank Karsten's job to just try and deny that early lore pressure and make a real game of it. Cindy is going to sing Let the Storm Rage On, targeting the Chernobog's followers, drawing into another Cindy. And of course, that Smee and Ariel are still ready and waiting.
I would have probably not. Oh, he didn't get punished. Wait, can he still play the Cindy? Yes. Okay, so he didn't get punished for exposing this Cindy, because otherwise, Kendall could just easily remove the Ariel. But now this is going to present a huge threat to him, just being able to empty his whole hand and just kind of taking control of the board as well.
Yeah, I think this is the position that Amber Steel wants to be in. Like, the Cindy draw was obviously very nice for Frank, but I think even then, Kendall has, like you said, he has to make the decision. Do you clear the Cindy that's exerted? Do you clear the Lawrence instead, because that's questing for 2? There's only so much you can deal with on the board, and the Ariel's going to stay ready. So I like the play. I can see why Frank got a little greedy. What do you draw? Inca Castle? Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yep, and 5 ink probably going to be that Elsa, and it is, and that is going to be, despite Frank drawing that second Cinderella, giving them an opportunity to deal with it, but instead, understandably so, exerting the Ariel, denying that Singer 5, and then Elsa will take out one of the Cinderellas, and here Kendall's just hoping amongst hope that there isn't that Cinderella Stout-Hearted in the hand of Frank Karsten.
Yeah, and Kendall's rewarded for, or not rewarded, but he was fortunate enough to draw this Elsa at this stage of the game. Because he inked one earlier, and I think it's actually very important to play this this Elsa on this turn.
Yeah, you said it on turn 1. He's going to need it by turn 5 and 4, and definitely needed that.
Frank Karsten's drawn into that 1-cost Robin Hood, of course, can shift in Cinderella Stout-Hearted, and then does have the option of singing A Whole New World. Usually when you're shifting in Cinderella Stout-Hearted, you're going to want to be making a challenge with her with that big resist power. But you guys... Is there ever a world Frank Karsten doesn't sing A Whole New World here and tries to hold on to it?
I think it's too risky, right? Because, we're getting to a point. I think it's too risky. I wouldn't be able to explain in which cards could out Cindy, but just in my experience, I feel like if you have the Whole New World in this scenario, you have to use it, right?
None. The answer is none. So he's
right. So there's no okay.
In this particular deck, yeah.
And nice little Enchanted Lady Tremaine, the Rabbit, and the Brawl going to be discarded by Kendall, and each player, of course, going to draw 7 fresh new cards. Is there ever, when you're playing Ruby Amethyst, guys, is there ever a consideration that you might get milled in this matchup, or is that just not something that ever happens?
I don't think it happens anymore. Personally, the Amber Steel deck is so fast. It's you can kind of see where the game's headed from the first 3-4 turns, and most of the time with the amount of 2 quester characters they have, it doesn't last very long to where you get decked out anymore.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, or like the other way where Ruby Amethyst wins by just presenting a lot of wipes, especially with like the new. Well, I guess Kendall's not playing the Sisu, but the Sisu usually, if you get to deploy one copy, usually the game's just over. So usually you don't get milled though, so I don't usually worry about that.
Lawrence is going to sing Strength of Raging Fire for the second time in this game, this time targeting the Madam Mim Fox, and then Mr. Smee going to quest yet again, it seems, which will bump Frank up to 4 lore. And interesting to see the hands drawn by each player. I'm sure players are very familiar with the Ruby Amethyst cards that NoImNot's drawn, but some really interesting things in Frank's hand, which we should take a bit of a closer look at. This new Lilo card, which when in the discard pile at the start of your turn, you can pay 2 ink to play her from the discard onto the board, but she's going to come in exerted. The new Pluto Guard Dog, which is going to be a 5/5 bodyguard when it is not damaged, similar to Lawrence. And then this Simba card as well, which is a set 1 card, just a 1/2 stat line, which is quite lackluster. But when you play this character, you may discard a card of your choice. You draw a new card and then discard one. And that is a new shift option for the new legendary symbol. Kendall has now, of course, drawn another card. 8 cards in hand after that whole new world, but also has access to Frenzy on the other side, which could be sung by Elsa. Not quite at that be prepared mark. They're going to be able to go to 6 ink this turn.
I think if I'm Kendall here, I would try to go for as many kind of value trades as possible. Like I really like Maui into Lawrence, as Maui would still survive that exchange. And just being able to pressure the board more, like using this Elsa to clear out this Smee and just leaving the Stout-Hearted Cinderella, you're able to kind of present threats back to your opponent and potentially make Frank overcommit a little bit into that be prepared line, right? So that's what I kind of want to see Kendall do on this turn.
Yeah, because he has 2 options, right? He slams Maui and tries to clear Cindy, or he does what you said. He goes for the value trades, which I think is better. Also, you kind of don't reveal to your opponent that you have B prep, because if you're clearing the Cindy, then you're telling your opponent you can keep going wide. I probably have the card you're most afraid of. He decides to not play Maui though. He's gonna play the Fox instead, is what it's looking like, to also clear the Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like this just because you're not presenting any threats on the board, and you need to really play for the board, right? Because if Frank just goes, play my whole hand, whole new world you again, you basically lose the game immediately.
Interesting. So you think Kendall here is probably just banking and hoping that there isn't a whole new world which would discard the B preps. I think it's definitely an interesting decision. I kind of like the idea from Kendall just denying as much lore gain this turn as they can, and then just getting that be prepared in next turn. They're very much telegraphing it, but even if Frank was to go for the whole new world, then there's a good chance that Kendall still draws into another B prep. Certainly from Frank's perspective, he doesn't know that Kendall's holding on to those 2 be prepared. Card drawn for Frank is going to be that 1-cost Robin Hood. Frank with 5 ink currently, but of course can ink to go up to 6 this turn, and there is potentially 1 card draw in hand with that Simba as well.
I mean, even though the Maui's at 1 health, it still requires kind of like a premium removal to deal with it. So that's why I kind of wanted to still be on the board.
Interesting.
And now it would require him a lot of extra ink to try to catch back up onto the board.
Yeah, Maui always feels like it gets a 2-for-1, which you might want in this situation, because like Flynn's not the most threatening character here. So yeah, the decision was either he uses the ink, plays the Flynn, or leaves 1 ink available, plays the Maui, I think.
And it is going to be Simba by Frank, so drawing a card, and then it's going to have to discard a card. Draws into Rapunzel. Of course, if Frank decides to discard this Lilo, that could enable that down the line, but instead going to discard one of his ballroom sensations. All 4 now. The last Cinderella ballroom sensation is the one in hand. Is going to pay 2 ink for this Lilo instead. Of course, by paying 2 ink now, it's going to come in readied, whereas if Frank tries to pay 2 ink for it in a future turn from the discard, it would come in exerted. So just wanting to spend that 2 ink to get a card which quests for 2. Cindy will then quest for 3. And it's interesting to see how much Frank extends here into a potential be prepared. How they balance this.
I mean, yeah, Frank's in a pretty good Kendall's in a pretty good spot because he has 2 be prepared. Because usually you expect 1, right? And I think, did 1 go to the discard? Maybe not. But
I don't believe
usually
so.
you play around 1 and then it's very unfortunate we get hit by the other.
Yeah, so Frank not spending too much ink this turn. It was 1 ink on the Simba, 2 on the Lilo. So still had 3 ink to spare. So could have played Strength of Raging Fire to deal with Flynn. Could have played the Robin Hood, but instead decides to save resources, anticipating a Be Prepared next turn.
Yeah, Kendall having 2 B prep is really what you want to see, especially like after not Frank not having another whole new world there. You're probably relieved if you're Kendall here.
3 lore to 7 as it stands. Flynn Rider's going to quest for 1, bringing NoImNot up to 4 lore. Of course, at 6 ink. So I think we all know what's coming. The question is, what is Kendall going to ink here? Brawl, Elsa, Friends, and Sisu. The options, it's going to be Brawl, it seems.
Personally, I like inking Sisu in this kind of stage of the game because I don't think you really need lore pressure. Like eventually you'll just win by just banishing all your opponent's characters. So I think this brawl might be kind of useful in the future, especially against Amber Steel.
Yeah, Rapunzel's a sticky card in this matchup. Like if you're playing against Amber Steel as a Ruby Am player, Rapunzel could just sit on the board sometimes. You have to play. You have to respect. There's the Lilo coming back.
Let's go. Zombie Lilo, some are calling her. So Frank had spent 2 ink on this Lilo, and she comes in exerted. But that's a pretty good way of minimizing the potential impact of a Be Prepared.
Yeah, fortunately for him, he has another one just ready to go.
And it was Prince Naveen, drawn by Frank. So that's going to be able to play a song that costs 6 or less. So if Frank is to draw into another Whole New World, they are going to be able to go Prince Naveen Whole New World without any other setup needed. And for Kendall here, he's in a spot where, does he Be Prep, right? He's got another one ready to go, but Frank's just kind of nullified the value potentially of a second Be Prep here. What are you guys thinking if you're NoImNot in this position? Are you taking the Maui onto that Pluto? Remember, it's a 5/5 bodyguard for those that aren't aware.
I'm setting up my board in this spot in particular. Like you're only presenting kind of 3 lore threat. So I think it's a good time for Kendall to try to develop to the board to try to start challenging on the following turns. Or if Frank goes a little bit wider, he can set up that Be Prepared.
Yeah, I can see that. Frank's not playing any cards like Baloo. It's like get like random lore bursts. So I think you can afford to let like an Amber Steel deck like this get to like 12 lore, maybe even 13, before you really have to worry about like constantly removing stuff from the board. So I would set up. I'd probably play like a Rabbit Sisu here. I don't want to trade Maui into the Pluto because that just feels bad. But oh, he might do it.
Looks like it is going to be Maui for Pluto.
Okay.
Really interesting to see all these different options and considerations of Ruby Amethyst. It's known as one of the hardest decks to play in the game. No, I'm not known as one of the top Ruby Amethyst players, and of course I'm joined by 2 of the best as well. So I'm really enjoying seeing all your guys' thought process and also just seeing how Kendall's is not always matching it. Of course, we also have the context of seeing Frank Karsten's hands, which of course NoImNot is not privy to. It is going to be the Sisu with Friends on the other side being inked. And it's another 1-cost Robin Hood drawn by Frank Karsten. But that Lilo is still ready and waiting on the board. Of course, if Frank can get 4 characters down here, there's the potential of Strength of a Raging Fire clearing the Sisu. But that doesn't seem like that's a possibility. I could go like double Robin Hood.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he actually could if he wanted to. And I mean, yeah, he's still kind of a little bit afraid of Be Prep. And I think that's why he's not sending it. But maybe he's just going to do it, though.
Definitely considering the option. It's really nice to see this new Lilo card, though, because if Frank does go for this line and then the B prep comes through, at least he's still got the Lilo. And it is going to be the play. Naveen going to be playing Strength, dealing with that Sisu. And I think we all know what's coming next turn from Kendall now.
Yeah, I think if you're Frank, you just have to tell them you better have it. If you don't have it, then you're going to run away with the game.
Yep. So Chandlerbox Followers drawn, which is a very nice card to find here potentially because it does allow the B prep plus the Chandlerbox to come through. The signed B prep.
Nice.
Frank's going to pick up his cards, leaving that Lilo on top of the deck, of course, because that could be summoned back out from the discard. You do have to decide on Lilo before you draw a card. That's worth noting. So, for example, if Frank was to draw into like a card he really wants to play alongside it, you have to make that decision before he knows. So he does decide to go for the Lilo and then draws into a Piglet. That's not a bad option. Piglet and Rapunzel can both come down. But if you're Frank, are you ever trying to hold on to this Rapunzel, try and get some card draw out of it down the line? Or do you think you just slam it and try and gain more power here?
I think he only has 6 ink, so he only could play 1 because he paid 2 for the
Right,
Lilo.
Of course, he already paid 2 for Lilo, yeah.
But I kind of like this Rapunzel. Yeah, like you said, it's a little sticky, so can't get easily bursted by like an Elsa that he has in his hand, for example.
Friends on the other side drawn also has that rabbit and Chernobog's followers, so an abundance of card draw potential. He's going to quest for 1 with the Chernobogs, I believe, and then draw a card. So, no, I'm not now up to 5 lore. Frank Karsten almost halfway there on 9.
I think this is the spot that Ruby Amethyst wants to be in. Just get down to low cards, and then you just start chaining together these rabbits and genies, friends.
Yeah,
you just start taking the game over from here.
And this is what you were talking about earlier. You don't necessarily need the lore burst advantage. Like if you just get to this point in the game, you can just start top decking your rabbits, your genies, your friends. Your top decks are way better than I would say most decks in the format. So being able to have a simplified game state like this is very important for Ruby M.
Elsa's going to come through, exert that Lilo and take it out, or actually exert Rapunzel and then take out the Lilo. So Frank's in another position here where they can summon this zombie Lilo, which I don't think is the official name for her, but draws the Gantu. I'm so excited to see Frank playing Gantu. It's one of my cards I'm most excited about in the set. Just a 5-cost character with a 4/3 stat line that quests for 4. It's a lot of questing potentially, as Rapunzel quests for 2.
The one I've gone to, especially if you can resolve this Piglet too, that's a lot. It's a lot of lore right there, and there's not really many outs to Gantu in Kendall's deck. I think he's with the 2 B preps gone, he's gonna have to figure out a way to get a Tremaine in there to get that Gantu out, or just have another B prep, or maybe even have another Elsa to trade, make some value trades here. But
this is pretty good for Kendall.
Ooh.
Just chaining together tons of friends.
Yeah, Rabbit sings the friends. Assign friends. I am very jealous right now.
Yeah, I think at the CCS AK we had like one time where they just had a lot of good it was B prep and friends at the same time. So
that's
unfortunate. I didn't have foil once at that time, so I didn't get mine some, but he did.
Had, Madam Mim Fox and what else did they do? Like Belle as well. There was another big banger. Oh, and Alice Bissoni. And it's a signed snake as well. The players are really flexing well. Certainly no, I'm not. And no, I'm not very much. I don't want to say a one-trick pony, but very well associated with Ruby Amethyst. So it makes sense that if you're playing one deck a lot to try and get those signed copies of them, it's going to be.
That's funny because I think he was the one that kind of made me get the foiled cards, because I remember I showed him my deck once and it was all commons, or like not foils.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What are you doing? You're a Ruby Amethyst guy. You should get these upgraded." And that's why my whole deck is foil.
Frank off the top, drawing into the whole new world. Of course, Rapunzel not able to sing it, but that definitely does change the dynamic of the game potentially. Of course, Frank didn't spend that 2 ink on Lilo, anticipating that they might want to play this Gantu, the Captain Cranky Head. So not only has Gantu got these big stats, 4 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 4, but it's also a captain for Smee synergy.
I mean, at this point of the game, Kendall kind of is dominating the board. So I think it might be a little bit too late for him to kind of wheel himself back into the game. But I mean, we'll see what happens from here.
Frank's going to quest for 2 with Rapunzel up to 13. They're now 7 away. Of course, that Gantu questing for 4 would get them up to 17 next turn, potentially, if left unanswered. Can't imagine Rapunzel is going to be sticking around for too long, particularly with that Brawl being drawn.
Brawl is really nice for this Rapunzel, because now you don't have to invest at least like your turn trading into that. I don't think Frank's going to sing the Gantu with the whole new world, right? He's probably going to try and quest, but I wonder if you still want like friends on the other side like every turn. Oh well, you have no cards yet. It's perfect.
Yeah, because if he draws like a Tremaine, for example, here the game's just straight up over, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think that's kind of what he's trying to take for, like maybe a bounce for this Elsa.
So finds Goat and Queen's Castle. Currently at 10 ink, which is worth pointing out. Kendall, 4 ink more than Frank at this moment in time. And is definitely
this
making
castle's
advantage
actually
of that in the late game.
Yeah, this castle is really, really, really
Yeah.
good here. It's
Yeah,
basically over at this point. Yeah.
And I like the way Kendall sequenced that. You know, you draw your cards first before you commit to that brawl play, because his play changed, or even if he wasn't thinking about that, now you have enough to play a castle and move everyone to the castle. Even play a goat.
Yep, Castle Goat putting Kendall up to 6 lore now. Elsa able to quest as well. Is anything in the castle here? 10 ink was spent.
I don't
and
think
10 ink
so.
available, so nothing in the castle right now, I believe. Oh no, it's only 8 ink, sorry, my mistake.
Yeah, I'm definitely inking this brawl and just putting everybody in, or as many as possible, I suppose. Ones with the most health.
Yeah, you'll probably draw another brawl off the castle draws.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
I like to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course, if you're just joining us, NoImNot did go first in this one. It's a best of 3. So there is a die roll, and NoImNot went first in this game number 1. Frank definitely had a pretty decent start around the turn 4 mark. They really turned on the heat, but looks like NoImNot stabilized a little bit. But with that Gantu on the board, Frank might have some tricks up his sleeve. Prince Naveen off the top could open up the whole new world, for example. Let's see what Frank draws first. But it's a scary looking board on the other side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about a 2-turn clock for Kendall right here. You has to quest with everybody twice, and that's game. Frank's not far away though from this from his win con.
And finds an uninkable legendary Simba Pride Protector. New set 6 card. Mainly in Frank's deck because it's a shift option. 4/4 stat line, quest for 2. And at the end of your turn, if Simba is exerted, you ready your other exerted characters. So some very interesting synergy with the Lilo, for example. You can pay 2 for the Lilo, quest of your Simba, and then Simba readies the Lilo at the end of the turn. That's of course not a possibility right here. And Frank with just 6 ink and 2 uninkables in hand, of course, can sing the whole new world with Gantu. But if you sing a whole new world with Gantu, you're missing out on 4 lore. But it's possible at this moment in time, Frank might not have any other choice. What do you expect if you're Frank here? You're in a bit of a losing position. Frank's just going to be trying to find the line, the world. Is there a world he could ever win? What do you guys predict Frank's going to do here? Go for the whole new world? Just go for the Simba? Just concede? What do you think?
Probably won't concede. There's a world where NoImNot disconnects and Frank's like, yeah, I won. No, no, but I do think that that if you're Frank, you're probably thinking I would probably just slam the whole new world, hardcast it, hope to see some 1-drops, ink, play 2 1-drops, quest to 17. I don't see how, like, maybe your one of your 1-drops is a Simba, and maybe Kendall doesn't banish that Simba, and then you can shift another Simba and quest for 2, and that's technically lethal, but. Like, I don't know if that would actually happen, but that's the only way I can see, like, you getting to 20.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, questing with this Gantu is probably pretty important because, I think that's the only way you can kind of catch up lore-wise. So, yeah, I'm probably going to hardcast this whole new world.
Interesting. And the key thing there is, and Frank's, of course, a veteran card player. They're going to know it better than anyone. There's no point of making a play which is never winning. You have to try and find, if you're in a losing position, you have to just try and find any world where there's just even an unlikely series of events that can allow you to win. And singing the whole new world with Gantu, maybe Frank can see a world where he's doing that. He's really slowing the game down at this moment in time and taking his time over this decision, which I really, really like to see. Even though a lot of people might just think, oh, I'm losing, I'm just going to give up. Frank's really, really considering the options at this moment in time. What do you guys think about in terms of how quickly you play in Disney Lorcana? Like, is this something that you think people don't do enough? Do you think people play too quickly on average? Or do you think that the pace of the game is enabling players to make the best options? Of course, often you have time limits. We are playing in an untimed round at the moment.
Yeah. Hot take. I personally love the 2-game format for that reason, because of the way the time situation works. Like, you always have enough time to finish both games. I think when you're playing a best of 3 and you have 50 minutes, players tend to take a little bit too long. I don't blame anybody for taking long. It's a complicated game. It's a hard game. But it's hard to maintain the pace of the game correctly.
Does find that
I
Simba.
was gonna, yep.
Sorry to cut you off.
Or I was gonna say, no, you're good. But I was gonna say, people have told me I'm like the fastest player they've ever seen. You said that too, right? But
yeah, you did play.
I think it just, I think it comes down to, I want to say 80% of the plays are like you've done these things in the past at some point, and that's why you kind of just do the thing, follow your instincts, and then the other 20% of the time you actually have to think about your plays.
So it was the play you guys predicted, which is hard casting the whole new world, perhaps begrudgingly, allowing Frank to quest with the Gantu. Did find a 1-drop in Simba. I believe the Smee was the card drawn, so didn't have the option of inking and going for Smee. So a little bit unfortunate for Frank in that sense, that after the whole new world, they didn't find either double 1-drop, or they didn't find that 2-drop Smee, or something like a Piglet, which can quest for an abundance. But of course, on the other side of things, important to note what NoImNot has drawn into as well in terms of removal. You can see Lady Tremaine, Madame Medusa as options. Both of these, of course, can deal with Simba. But let's not forget about the Queen's Castle. Oh my goodness, that's 3 extra cards drawn because of the castle and 1 for turn. So 11 cards in hand for Kendall after that whole new world.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he could do anything he wants. But
Yeah.
I mean, the easiest line probably just double Lady, sideways, past turn, and just
yeah. I like double Lady.
Yeah.
The two ladies in red to close the game out is always nice. So he ends up he's gonna trade the snake into the Gantu.
Sure.
That's nice.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. It's such a commanding spot.
Yeah, Frank could have drawn into Robin Hood too, like as one of the 1-drops, because like you could have shifted either Simba or Robin Hood for potential lethal. But yeah, there's so much removal in the Ruby Am deck in this point in the game. Like, what are the odds that you don't draw either one of the ladies or another B prep?
Yeah, so Lady Tremaine cleans up poor old Simba, the rightful heir. A second Queen's Castle hits the board. Kendall's going to quest with everything else available. And of course, those 2 castles on board threatening 2 lore each next turn as well. I believe Kendall, once they've added their lore up here, is going to be at match point and able to quest to win out next turn, unless Frank's able to do something to stop it.
No, I'm pretty sure he has 0 outs in this spot.
Yeah, it's there's no Baloo. You would need to shove a Baloo in your deck very quickly.
2 Baloos specifically.
Yeah, or 2 Baloos. Yeah, and I think that's why certain Amber Steel players like Baloo, because you do get to this point in the game where just that one little burst of lore will get you there.
Frank draws into the aerial, but with NoImNot at 14 lore, just needing 6 more, Frank just has to remove both of those castles realistically. And that's not going to be a possibility, so Frank not wasting any time. We saw them really take their time in the previous turn when there was still a chance, but recognizes that the chance is now gone. Well, gentlemen, before we go on to round 2, let's take a little moment to talk about yourself. So, Lorcana Goons, you have a YouTube channel. Look at that Rapunzel playmat behind you as well. I need one of them in my backdrop, mate. That's not bad.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So
yes,
you got a YouTube
I do have
channel.
a channel.
You do market watch videos, which I'm watching very often. And yeah, obviously, clearly a very good player of that top 16 playmat. Where can people find you? What kind of stuff are you doing for Lorcana?
Thank you, man. First, I want to say thanks for having Lorcana Goons. We really appreciate you. We met at Seattle, and Spessie's an awesome guy. Everybody, I have a channel, Lorcana Goons. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We do market watch videos every Monday and Friday, and in between there, I try and do a lot of like meta reports. I'll try and live stream Pixelborn Connect as well. So if you guys like that type of content, give us a follow, like, comment. We're in Southern California, and we also vend. So if you're in that area, feel free to reach out so you can come by and say hi.
Awesome. I'm going to ask someone in the chat to please post the link, because we're streaming this with a 10-minute delay just to ensure the competitive integrity. Someone in chat's going to get us covered. Please post that link and go subscribe to Lorcana Goons. And Ed, you also are making content for Lorcana as well recently.
Yeah. I had a couple, if I think there's something kind of interesting to talk about, I might do like a YouTube video once in a while. and I might probably do one at some point this week regarding like the set 6 meta and how kind of Ruby Amethyst fits in it, because I think a lot of people are kind of putting down Ruby Amethyst as like a, tier 2, even maybe tier 3 deck. But I think it definitely has
if you were to
tier 2, sure.
if you
Tier
were to
2,
just
okay,
have to ask
sure.
me, I would go tier 2, tier 3.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
before
I think,
last week. So for those of you that don't know, I was in California myself last week, and I was with Ed, and Ed won the tournament, the Battle of the Bay, with Ruby Amethyst, and it was pretty comfortable for you in the end, wasn't it, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the tournament, or
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like my backyard kind of in Berkeley, California. Like I live pretty close by, and I know a lot of the players there. So it felt really good to kind of just play on home turf, as it were, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially like I was playing a very comfortable list for me personally. It's very close to like the list I ran in Texas, and I just made like a couple changes, add some more draw cards, and I think something I kind of missed was that Maleficent Sorceress from the Texas list. And I think the Genie was definitely a huge upgrade for that list. And I think it made the matchup against the Emerald decks much more comfortable, especially against Diablo, because if you didn't really have any way to deal with it, then you would lose the game. And I think this Genie definitely adds like a roadblock for that card specifically.
I'm just admiring the shuffling skills on display here. That is, yeah, I could not do that. If you train me for a month straight, I would still not be at that level from either of these. I'm mesmerized. To explain what's going on with the piles here as well to everybody, because it's a webcam game, of course, usually in a game of Lorcana, you're able to cut your opponent's deck. You're also entitled to shuffle it, which often happens at the very highest level before the start of the game. This is just presenting your deck in 3 different piles and allowing your opponent to cut it in different ways. So you can see the dice there marking 1. NoImNot could say 1, 2, 3, or 3, 1, 2, in whatever order they want for Frank to put the deck back in order.
I was gonna say the bridge shuffling. I always like cringe a little bit because I know like Kendall has some good fairly expensive cards in there, right?
The signed foil cards.
Yeah, and the bridge shuffling. So
what's the bridge shuffling exactly? Is that different from a riffle shuffle? Or is it the same thing?
Yeah, when he does like and he's like, you know what I mean, kind of thing. I'm like, oh, because like it's very it's for like the when you have playing cards, right? It's like a very common thing, but for collectibles, I really don't like that.
Freaks me out too, but that's how you know someone's a good card game, or they know how to play card games, is when they're confidently ripple shuffling or they're poker shuffling their enchanted rares and foil signed B preps.
Meanwhile, I'm dropping my cards on the floor while trying to shuffle. Frank here with a very different opening hand to what we saw in the last game. Frank will be going first here in game 2, having lost in game 1, of course. NoImNot won the die roll and was able to go first in game 1 and took game 1. It is a best of 3, so Frank is going to need to win both of these last 2 games in order to maintain his flawless record so far in the tournament. I do believe he's got a 2-0 record. I actually wasn't able to watch his round 2 game just yet, but I've heard very good things about it. We're going to probably watch it on stream this weekend. Did either of you get to watch Frank's game? As we see just 1 card mulliganed. What was it that went? I actually can't remember.
It was a Cindy, I think. Stout-hearted.
Yeah, it was a big Cindy.
Then on the other side, NoImNot with 3.
Sorry.
You're good.
I was going to say, from Frank's side, I would be a little bit more aggressive trying to find some songs for the Cindy, especially when you're on the play. But I guess for him, he values kind of the curve out and being able to do this kind of like Simba into Lilo combination. And I mean, Simba can also find songs, right? And he already has his guaranteed Naveen Whole New World play on turn 4. So, I mean, it's not too bad. I think he'll have a good opening for this game for sure.
Ed, how do you feel about Kendall keeping Maui in his opening hand?
On the draw specifically, I kind of don't like this because I'm pretty sure he's never going to get to play this Maui. It's always going to get a Whole New Worlded. So I kind of don't like this, but maybe if he was maybe hoping that he doesn't play Whole New World, and like Maui on 5 is one of the best turns for Ruby Amethyst. So maybe that's what he's kind of hoping for.
Interesting. Maybe there's just a world as well that he's just not wanting to draw into extra uninkables, for example, and is happy to ink Maui. But Frank starts off with that Cindy on 1. As you mentioned, there is no song for Frank with the Storm Rage on a strength, but NoImNot doesn't know that. So what do you guys anticipate? Do you think he's going to play the broom into this Cindy, or just does
Yeah, you
play
have
into
to.
it?
You have to. Yeah.
You have
to.
you want to be able to have at least 2 characters before like turn 3, because if you draw a fox, then you're chilling, like at least to like survive, right? But I don't like that Kendall drew both Tremaine and Medusa. Kind of hurts as a Rubian player because it's your removal right there.
Simba's going to come through. Oh, are we going to see the combo of dreams? This
Nice.
1/2 stat line and Simba's going to discard Lilo, though, who, of course, likes being in the discard. Frank now with that option of spending 2 ink at the start of their next turn, or start of each turn, to summon this Lilo from the discard onto the board. But it will come in exerted. Of course, Simba cost 1 ink to play. Frank's able to ink the second Simba and play another 1-drop, this time Robin Hood. So 3 1-drops down on the board for Frank. A Cindy, a Simba, and a Robin Hood. Now has the consideration on whether or not to quest with Cindy. Of course, no turn 2 rush in NoImNot, so it's worth mentioning it is open deck list, so the players are aware of each and every card in their opponent's deck. Cindy therefore going to quest for 1. First law on the board in game number 2 here. Frank at 2 ink, and NoImNot, of course, currently at 1. The first time I had heard of Frank Karsten, it was in Lille, which, of course, the first Disney Lorcana challenge we had, I was on the casting team. And Brendan DeCandio, who is on the North American team for this tournament, he sent me a message and was like, look out for Frank Karsten. And this was on day 1 on the Saturday, I think, before barely a game had been played. And then fast forward a day, and Frank Karsten was the champ. So that was quite impressive by Brennan. Just really showing the respect that he has for Frank from other card games. It's going to be Flynn Rider that comes down. And no quest with the Magic Broom either.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine. I mean, I think he was thinking about whether he wanted to play Snake here just for like maybe potentially better inking decisions on the following turns. But I think this is also kind of good to go wide.
And we do see that Lilo come through from Frank. Of course, that did cost their 2 ink. So they've already spent their ink before they even drew a card. But still going to have 1 ink to spare after inking one of these Cindy's. Of course, the Naveen and the Whole New World are uninkable. So Frank's left in a position here where they have to decide whether it's worth risking playing this second Cinderella and drawing into an uninkable.
Personally, I'm sending it.
Yeah.
I'm just inking and playing my whole hand, turning everyone sideways. I was
gonna say the opposite. I personally hold it. Like, I'm terrified of not drawing an ink right there. Amber Steel in general tends to play a lot of uninkables too, so I think that's something that maybe Frank is taking into consideration.
And what's interesting is your guys' kind of those are your instant gut feelings, right? Whereas what I imagine Frank is doing here is really going to slow the game down again and do some calculating and plan ahead on, for example, what are the odds he draws an uninkable, does go for the Cindy, decides it's worth the risk at this moment in time. We'll have to wait and see if they get punished. Of course, an uninkable card for Frank Karsten off the top would not allow them to get to the 4 ink necessary to play this Naveen Whole New World. So it's a risky play, but will they be rewarded? Flynn Rider not going to trigger because of the 2 strength of Robin Hood.
I think something to consider definitely was to quest with the Simba and the Cindy to try to overload Kendall in this spot, because you can't attack everything, right? So I kind of would have wanted to do that, but I think this is also kind of okay if you wanted to kind of keep these singers for, or shifting cards for future purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought he was going to quest with the Simba too. Because I mean, the Cindy's I can see, because if you draw some nice songs, they're probably going to be killer. But I'd get rid of that Simba. I'd risk it.
The 5-cost Simba that Frank has in his deck is a card I'm not a big fan of in general. But if you can shift it in, it becomes so much better. Because it has to be exerted for its ability to come through. If you're just playing it, it's quite slow. But of course, if you shift it in, you can quest immediately. So I imagine that's why Frank's decided to hold on to the Simba, really valuing the potential of drawing into a shift Simba. I guess even if Frank draws into a Simba this turn as the top deck, it gives them some extra cards It gives him an
That'd be
uninkable
really
draw,
good.
right?
That's true. Maybe yeah. Maybe that's why.
true.
Maybe that's why he did it, because he's, Frank is the mathematician over here, and he did some calculations. Probably knows he's gonna draw a big Simba.
Yeah, if there's any Lorcana player that's doing like crazy maths on these kinds of things, I would say it's Frank.
Yeah, then that would make sense for him not to quest the Simba in case he does draw the Simba.
He drew the ink though. He did so.
Yeah.
Yep, he knew it. Quick maths. Naveen into Whole New World.
So I would say from here, like Frank's in a really, really good position.
So each card going to be discarding their hand and drawing 7 new cards. Frank had nothing to discard. But still, each player 7 new cards. It's Robin Hood, Strength, Smee, Rapunzel, Robin Hood, Storm Rage on, and Simba for Frank. Did already spend their 4 ink though, of course, with that Prince Naveen that came down. So no ink available for the rest of this turn. But does have the option of questing and singing with these Cindy's, for example.
Yeah, this is a crazy hand for Frank here. He can use both songs. He can clear the Flynn. The board is pretty much gonna be gone, I think, by the end of this turn potentially. And now I see why you don't quest with that Simba, because the shift Simba in his hand is looking really nice now.
True. He's the master.
Yeah,
we're just living in his world.
We're watch and learn, everybody. I'm taking notes. I'm definitely taking notes. Another thing I want to mention is NoImNot didn't draw into any removal off that Whole New World or a Genie or anything really like a Maui either or Elsa. And that's rough. That's why I feel like sometimes this matchup isn't necessarily about like, oh, it's a harder and easy matchup. It feels like, what do you draw off the Whole New World? What did you discard off the Whole New World?
So Frank has spent all 4 of their ink, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But 2 songs, potentially even 3, right? But I guess he can't really cast a song he draws off the top. So the Storm and the Strength is extremely good for him right now.
Yeah, with the ink being there, I thought for a second that Frank was putting another card into Inkwell, but just exerting that Cindy. Looks like it's going to be Storm Rage on selected with 2 pretty good targets on either the Broom or the Flynn.
I think it's probably Broom just because you can challenge the Flynn with the Robin Hood if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably what he's going to end up doing.
Draws into another song, which is I'm Still Here. That 3-cost uninkable, new set 6 card rather. Gives a character of yours resist 2 until the start of your next turn and draw a card. Second Cinderella going to be exerted. Also going to be sing-songing, it looks like. It's going to be Strength of a Raging Fire.
Like, look at this, like, kind of board disparity with the ink, right? Like, he's only on 4 and he has this extremely wide board, and he's about to clear out all of Kendall's board. And with 4 ink, I don't think there's really much Kendall can really do.
Yep, it will be Strength. Of course, can also target either Flynn or Snake, but the second ready character of Kendall's has been banished by these Cinderella Ballroom Sensations. A card I only have 2 copies of in my collection. Can you believe that? I've got everything.
Didn't open much, huh?
I've had some people asking me, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? I'm like, yeah, I've got everything, but I don't have 4 Cinderellas somehow.
That's how I am with Rapunzels. I have 1 Rapunzel and 1 DLC Rapunzel. I've never gotten the other 2, so I refuse to play Amber Steel.
I have 8. I have 8 Rapunzels.
Yeah, I won quite a bit of tickets, so I have quite a bit of those Rapunzel promos.
You got one Rapunzel, Goons, one playmat as well. As many playmats.
Yeah, yeah, just to match. Just to match it real quick.
Yeah, if I'm Kendall, I'm going next, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to respect the potential to maybe hope Frank just has a bunch of uninkables he can't play. But that's not really likely gonna happen, especially like Frank's deck, the way he builds it, dude. Like he has a lot of 1-ofs, but they're so high impact. They make such a big difference in the deck. Like the 1 Naveen making a huge impact in this game right now.
Yeah.
Didn't catch that card in Frank's hand here, but I'm sure we'll see soon enough. It is going to be the Lilo from.
Oh, he's recurring it, yeah.
Yeah, coming back. This Lilo, which was discarded by Simba on turn 1, was played from the discard on turn 3, and is now back again on turn 5. Pretty good value.
Yeah, he's gonna do the thing where you recur it and then you do the Simba to put the Lilo upright.
Oh!
And I think he did this play. Maybe I won't spoil game. I'll spoil his
I heard there was
previous
a
game.
play like this.
Yeah,
You can
that
spoil.
was
Definitely.
yeah. Or I was gonna say he played like an exerted Simba and then shifted on top of it to ready the Lilo that just came out.
Oh.
So a lot of people are like, "Wow, I didn't even know that you could do that."
Was
So
it with the
that's why-
bodyguard Simba he's playing?
Yeah, the bodyguard.
Yeah.
He played it
Yeah.
played it and then shifted it right on top of it.
Yeah. So cool. So Simba, when exerted, at the end of your turn, ready your other exerted characters. So that Lilo, which was summoned from the discard, exerted, is now ready. And as soon as I saw Frank's deck list before the start of this tournament, I was really excited about it. Just love the idea of it. I was also actually looking at the Simba and Lilo combo, but I was looking at like some kind of Pride Lands Amber Steel. Frank just sticking to the faithful Amber Steel songs. You can't go wrong, and it's a deck he knows very well.
Yeah, when this Simba resolves, it's kind of game changing.
Yeah, it protects like all these kind of small characters very well, and you basically get to like quest out twice, guaranteed, right? With these kind of small characters.
Elsa's going to come through, though. That is going to exert one of Frank's characters. Poor old Lilo. She's back in the discard. But for how long, that remains to be seen. It is 9 law to 1 in favor of Frank right now. This Elsa does help NoImNot claw back a little bit of board presence, which is much needed at this moment in time. Frank, before drawing a card, just considering whether or not they want this Lilo to be summoned from the discard.
Yeah, I think Frank knows that he has this game locked up because, Kendall's only at 5 ink. He can't be prepped the next turn. So I think he's just going to try to go as wide as possible and just kind of close out the game that way.
Yeah, that Lilo value is insane because you basically don't have to play both Semis this turn. Like you could, or you could just play everything. But even post B prep, like it's just gonna keep coming back. Especially if you're gonna quest for what? You're guaranteed to quest for 13 to 13 this turn.
There is one
Yeah,
song
I like the
available
double
for
spin
Frank,
here.
which is I'm
Yeah.
Still Here, which of course does draw them a card as well. But doesn't
Could
have
even
the
keep-
biggest impact in terms of its effect, just giving resist 2 to a character this turn.
You give it to Lilo, and Lilo will be protected from that Elsa again.
True.
It's true. Maybe that's what he was thinking about when he added this card, like being able to do it on Lilo and just getting that 2 lore.
Yeah, or like a Piglet,
It's also good.
Even if your Smee's, I guess, about to banish itself by taking damage, you can deny that, for example.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, Smee's a menace.
It's going to be a quest, though, instead, for Frank. Of course, if he's going to go for that card draw, it was the first thing he wanted to do. So we saw him really considering his options there, whether he wanted to go for I'm Still Here or quest. And that's the reason we see that be the first decision he makes. If he's going for I'm Still Here, that's going to be the thing he does first because of the extra card he draws. But decides he's just interested in questing at this moment in time. He's got what I like to call like a bit of an overload. He's got more characters than Kendall is going to be able to remove in a single swoop, and is just wanting to go as wide as possible and get as much questing power in while he's at it.
Because I think he's thinking about, let's say, for example, Kendall has like a lady right the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be able to take out both these Cindy's, lady out, maybe this Naveen. Then he's still going to have 6 on board, so he's not necessarily going to win the game yet. So I think he's just thinking about like, what cards do I want after this turn if I ever get laid into a B prep kind of play pattern.
Yeah, and Frank just sets up lethal before we can even get to 7 ink on the NoImNot side over here.
Elsa is being exerted and is going to take out that Lilo. But guess what? She can come back very quickly indeed. Cindy's also going to be taken out. But the two Smees stand strong. Frank just 7 lore away. It's going to be a brawl. Of course, only going to be able to deal with the Cinderella on Frank's side of the board there. Frank now questing for 6. So, NoImNot has managed to stay in the game for now. But Frank within touching distance. It's going to be the Snake bouncing Elsa back. Queen's Castle into the Inkwell.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to rip a B prep off the top.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to. And I think Frank knows that, so I don't expect him to commit anything after this and just turn it sideways and pass.
Yeah, and even after B prep, man, that Lilo, it's just as though at the third or fourth time it's come back already, and there's more Lilos in the deck too. So
this is the first Lilo, right? This was the Lilo which was discarded on turn 1 by Simba. Is this the 4th or the 5th time it's come back?
I think it might be the 4th.
Really incredible value here from the Lilo Simba combo, particularly when we consider the fact that the Simba shifted onto Lilo as well at one point. Sorry, the Simba shifted on to Ready the Lilo. We are now going to see I'm Still Here. It seems.
Yeah, I'm okay just like casting it just to draw a card. Maybe if you beat perhaps you can think about what you want to set up for the following turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in this position, I think the only card Frank could ever lose to is Be Prepared, right? And so he's just not going to want to overextend into that. And I think it also makes sense to just get that card draw through now. It's going to target the Smee, which is going to prevent 1 damage being taken by Smee at the end of the turn.
I mean, I think basically all Frank has to do for the rest of the game is present this Lilo plus 1 other threat, and he'll win the game. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, there's like no world you whole new world for Frank ever in this scenario, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen players like still whole new world here just very confidently, like, oh, it doesn't matter, you know. But I don't think you ever want to do that. I think you want to check if your opponent has the B prep. Just put them on. You better have it. You know, you're talking about what's the winning play. Like you said, the way you win right now is you quest. You make sure you have a character that's ready to end the Leo that can keep coming back, and you just got to keep seeing a character right now if you're Frank.
Frank looks like they're going to be questing with Naveen double Smee for 6 up to 19. Of course, no captains on the board, so Smee will take a damage, but only one of them, because one of them was given resist 2 by I'm Still Here. Does look like we're just having a couple laggy cameras, but I'm sure it's going to be all good.
I think they scooped it up.
Yep, they scooped it up.
Yep, so it's going to be a game 3. NoImNot versus Frank Karsten. Both players, when going first so far, have done the job. It was a lot closer, however, when Ruby Amethyst went first. So what do you think, guys, Frank Karsten needs to do in this game 3 to win going second as Amber Steel Songs? What do you not want? If you're a Ruby Amethyst player, what is your worst nightmare in this matchup? If you're going first, you guys are the Ruby Amethyst experts. What are you doing? Let's start off with Kevin. What are you not wanting to see Frank Karsten do if you're Ruby Amethyst playing against Frank Karsten here?
Yeah, if I am Ruby M, I want to hope my opponent doesn't play a 1-cost character, you know, but they probably will more than likely. Ideally though, I would like to see a Simba or a Robin Hood even, but if they play that 1-drop Cindy, then I got to start thinking, you know, you really have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Do I play into the Storm? Do I play into the Strength, depending on what you have? And then after that, the worst case scenario, I think, is if they play 2 more 1-drops, Strength your character, because usually you want to respond either with like Broom Snake or Double Broom. But if they go wide with like double Cindy and another character, like it's going to be what happened in game 2. Any board that Kendall tries to set up in the early game, Frank's going to be able to whole new world, draw a bunch of songs, and just clear the board again. So I think that's like the biggest fear, or something like really aggressive, like Cindy into Piglet or Simba into Piglet. And if we as Ruby players don't have the Foxes, the Brawls to kind of contest that in the early game, that Piglet can run away with the game if they follow up with like Pluto, Lawrence, and stuff like that.
Ed, you agreeing with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Basically, yeah, if he sees all the banish and early whole new world, I think that's kind of the key to victory for Frank, especially going second. And I think that like these 2 games kind of showcase like the power of going first, right? Just being able to be proactive, get on the board, and prevent your opponent from getting on the board. I think Frank really needs to see those songs to be able to kind of break that parity.
What I will also say, we're on a bit of a delay, but I've just seen Launch Site typing in the chat that there's a lot of questions the casters can ask Frank. So if there are any things specifically you would like us to ask the players, perhaps get those questions in now and at me, at Specimen, in the Twitch chat, so I see them, because of course we're streaming with a slight delay just to ensure the competitive integrity of the tournament is maintained. But if you guys have got any questions you'd like us to ask specifically, feel free to at me in the chat so it catches my eye and we can see what we can do. This could be game 3. NoImNot versus Frank Karsten. What's NoImNot's record so far in the tournament? Do you guys know? Is it 1 win, 1 loss?
1 win, 1 loss. Yes, yeah. I know he beat the Rubiam mirror match. That was the kind of burn style, and then he played against Artifacts, and Artifacts took that one last round.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so he played against Buonasera in round 1.
There you go, Buonasera.
And Artifacts in round 2. So the first
a lot of people are saying that's like the best.
Of the Amethyst deck.
I was gonna say a lot of people are saying that Buonasera, like NoImNot match was really, really good because it was really, really tight all the way until the end, and everyone thought Buonasera was gonna pull it out, but
super nail biter,
really tight. Yeah, NoImNot played really tight through the end, played to his outs, and was able to kind of pull it out at the end.
I've got quite a bit to catch up on actually from both round 1 and round 2, because it was around the time I was traveling to California. I missed quite a lot of the action from round 1 and round 2, so I'm excited to be catching up on some of those games on stream later in the week. And there's a lot more games going on in this tournament as well, EU versus NA, throughout the week. So make sure you're staying tuned in the Disney Lorcana category on Twitch. This is actually the only round of the only game of the tournament this round which I'll be covering, but we'll be watching most of it, if not all of it, back on the stream after the fact, because I need to get myself prepped for Paris, because of course we're just a week away now from the very first Disney Lorcana Challenge, or Disney Lorcana European Championship, which is taking place next week in Disneyland Paris. So this time next week we're going to be having a last chance qualifier on the Friday, and then on the Saturday and the Sunday, of course, we're going to be seeing the main event. And of course Frank Karsten will be playing in that. He is qualified, and of course Kendall, as well as both of you guys, will then be participating in the North American Championships in January, which is in Disneyland in California. Are you guys going to take the opportunity to go to the Disney park, or are you going to be too busy practicing?
I'll probably go. Yeah, I'll make an excuse. My mom, for sure, my girlfriend's been trying to get me to take her here for the last year. So this is a perfect excuse, right, to actually make it a whole vacation thing.
I was going to say I go to Disneyland like pretty often, so for me it's just like a typical like I don't need to go at this particular trip.
That's crazy. I'm 30 minutes away and I don't even go that often. I should though.
No, maybe like once or twice a year potentially. So for me that's enough, to be honest. You see it once, you seen everything.
So NoImNot's going to be going first here, and Frank's already kind of prepping their mulligan. We can see what they're thinking of getting rid of. Of course, remember these blue bars, opponent's not able to see what's on. Is that a 7-card mulligan I'm seeing?
He's gonna send everything. Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
I was gonna say I don't think there was any cards you want to keep as Kendall. He didn't keep the Maui this time because he had a Maui.
Yeah. Never punish, draw the 2/1 drops.
Ooh, no. Yeah, I like the hand. I like that hand. Hey, but that's what you got to do with Rubiam. I don't know. I like the next two, but I most of the time when I see people and my opponent, if they mulligan only like 2 or 3 cards away, even just 1 card away, I think to myself, your hand better be godly, because there's like you wasted. I think what in my opinion is probably the best aspect of Lorcana is the mulligan. Like you can benefit so heavily from the mulligan in this game, and I think Kendall just perfectly like showcase that right now. Look at that, just one drop on 1 and 2. There's no 3-cost character though. I would like to see it, or a brawl, in Kendall's hand. Let's see what Frank gets though, because Frank
he had a brawl in his opener, but he decided to mull it away. I think that's still correct though, because you really need that early pressure, especially when you're on the play against Ember Steel, and brawl doesn't really present that.
Rather have a character or something, or just a variety of characters. Okay.
Yeah. Frank's in a really interesting spot with his mulligan, where he had those 3 cards kind of selected quite early on. After seeing the 7 cards mulligan, I'm wondering if Frank ever changes his decision. Interesting to see him keeping this Robin Hood shift in the opening hand, despite not having much of an early curve. But look at that reward. Finds the 1-cost Robin Hood. Frank Karsten. Wow.
Frank,
I don't think
oh,
I'm ever keeping this Robin Hood with this hand, but
yeah. I mean, he probably recognizes he needs to have this shift Robin Hood in order to kind of claw out of this like draw disparity. So I kind of like it.
Yeah, Frank also plays Zeus. I think a lot. I think Zeus is a very good card against Rubiam. And being able to shift that Robin Hood, seeing Zeus is pretty crazy. Or same thing with the Simba. You could also do it that way. But the Robin Hood just has like a lot more willpower to deal with the Rubiam characters. And at least in the early game, right until before like turn 6, before the Medusa situation, that Robin Hood just adds a lot of pressure.
So I guess Kendall's going first. What would you go? What would you do here if you were going first against Hammer Steel?
see, I knew you weren't even asking me. I didn't even have to pretend that you were asking.
sorry. I just took it. I just took the questions.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I ink the castle every time. Castle's an amazing card, but it just feels more like it costs 7, 8 ink to play castle because you got to move guys into the castle, make sure it's alive. So castle's not coming down anytime soon in this matchup. Just ink it away. I always play Chernobog first. I'd rather have the 2 strength than the 1, especially if you're not playing crab in your list. But what do you do? Do you play Chernobog or Broom first?
Yeah, so for sure castle, and then it's definitely Broom here because in this hand in particular, you need something to quote unquote rescue this Broom, right? And I think this Chernobog is the best rescuer you have at the moment because if you go Chernobog first, this Broom potentially might get stuck on the board where you can't kind of recover it. So I really like playing the Broom first in this spot.
Yeah, trigger the draw faster without having to worry, especially with your hand. You're right. You don't have a secure way to trigger on turn 3.
Frank Karsten inking Rapunzel, I believe, which is an interesting decision, and playing down that 1-drop Robin Hood. Other ink options was either of the songs or the Robin Hood or the Simba, but I wonder if there was an argument ever or a consideration for Frank to ink one of the songs, but I think it was Rapunzel that went instead, deciding that it's maybe just a bit too far off. What do you think about the Rapunzel ink? I think it was Rapunzel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. Like, it's probably Rapunzel and this I'm Still Here going to the ink, probably regardless. Because I think his game plan here is like Robin Hood, Simba, shift, wheel, kind of game plan. So, yeah, those were going to the ink, and it's probably similar regardless.
In comes Simba, but no, not as a bodyguard on this occasion. Of course, you have the option, with Simba being a bodyguard, of playing it exerted, but decides to leave it ready because it is a shift target for that Simba Pride Protector.
Kendall got really lucky drawing this brawl off the top here.
Yeah, I like the well, I mean, I would probably brawl Robin Hood. Just that's out of experience. I feel like you want to get rid of the shift line immediately. He does have 2 shift lines though, so that's the beauty with having Robin Hood Simba here. Frank gets to shift no matter what. How do you feel about him inking the Chernobog, keeping the Broom, and not the other way around?
I mean, they're probably it's all ink anyway. But personally, afterwards though, I think Chernobog is better because, like you said, he can rescue himself, right, and recover the card if you need to.
It's going to be brawl onto the Robin Hood. Of course, had the option of brawling the Simba as well. Definitely an interesting decision there to take the Robin Hood. Of course, the shift target, or the shift characters, the Floodborn characters, Robin Hood with that 3/6 stat line might be more difficult to deal with for now, for NoImNot, whereas a Fox, for example, could trade with the Simba. What do you guys think on the brawl? Do you think there's ever a world you brawl the Simba instead of the Robin Hood in this position?
I personally like brawling the Robin Hood. Just like you just mentioned, the Robin Hood's willpower it's a lot to deal with in the early game for Rubiam, and I think what you want to do is just make sure you don't put yourself in those positions. You know what? And because at the end of the day, you can deal with the Simba with a Fox maybe, but you can't deal with that Robin Hood until like turn 5 or 6.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Robin Hood's extremely annoying early game, and Simba a little bit less so because I mean. It's just a 4/4, really, if you think about it.
Now,
and
Frank
especially if this
Simba
board's not
here,
too wide.
As I expected, it looks like they're going to be going for aerial. And what this is going to enable Frank to do is next turn, shift in Simba. And that's going to allow them to sing a bunch of songs with aerial. Well, sing one song with aerial, but then ready aerial at the end of the turn. So find Strength of a Raging Fire as well. So Frank with an abundance of song cards in hand, including that Whole New World. And next turn is going to be able to shift in Simba as well.
Yeah, this spot's a little bit awkward for Frank, to be honest, because the snake is a 3 willpower character, and he doesn't really have any easy ways to deal with it with strength or let the storm rage on. And it's not like he can go wide next turn, right? I think his next turn is probably just going to be. Oh, I guess if he draws like another character that is good to play, he can do it like a Naveen would be pretty good here. But if not, then Shift Simba makes it very awkward. Can't really do 3 very easily.
Or the Kendall snake. Ink's a snake, right? A little laggy.
Mhm.
Ink a snake play rabbit.
Yeah, I like that. This Elsa really does put in a lot of work in this matchup, and you really want to be holding it as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think he also had a decision to either play Rabbit or Genie in this spot, and I think it's a good call to play this Rabbit because if he does Whole New World and this Rabbit is still on the board, he can kind of recover the card in a future turn.
Yeah. I've always liked the rabbit against this matchup. It's a lot different than the card like Friends on the other side, where they post Whole New World, that rabbit will still get a draw if it's on the board already.
Mm-hmm.
Simba was the card drawn by Frank, and 1 ink has already been exerted. So I do believe it's going to be the Simba that's coming through. It looks like we might have a couple of technical issues with the cameras, but just bear with us. Of course, these players playing on other sides of the world, but it's going to be Simba coming through, drawing Lawrence. Frank now able to, has to discard a card as well. Let the Storm Rage on. Seems like it might be the card being selected by Frank. Still
I was going to mention too.
Go on.
The last couple of turns, Frank hasn't been drawing too many characters. He's been drawing just song back to back, and I feel like if you Whole New World now, like you're gonna maybe see more characters than songs off the top of your deck because he's running through his songs already in the early game, but he hasn't been playing them. Like you were mentioning, there's not a lot of good targets for the strength right now. Well, now there is because he was able to find that Simba as a 3rd character, but
yeah, now that he has this, I kind of like going for like shift, strength, kill the rabbit, or banish the rabbit, and go for Whole New World just to kind of erase this rabbit's advantage.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's I would be salty as a Ruby M player if someone did that to me. Yeah, but that's one of the things with sequencing that's really important in Lorcana. Like obviously he could Whole New World first and then banish the rabbit, but that would mean he gets the 8th card. But like you said, if he does it the other way around, then the rabbit value is irrelevant.
Frank spent 2 ink or 1 ink, sorry, on that Simba, so still has 2 ink available. Remember, can shift in Simba this turn as Ariel's ready and waiting. So 1 ink.
I would say
2 ink left, but could ink to have a 3rd ink.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know a lot of players are trying to cut Maui from their decks, and I think in this spot in particular. Well, it was very interesting. He actually used strength on the snake.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably not right, just so you can kind of equalize this rabbit's advantage. But I was going to say, because if he does go for this kind of Simba shift, a Whole New World line, the only real punish here is Maui. And I think it's actually very important to have more copies of Maui. I know my list only has 2, but after seeing kind of this prevalence of Amber Steel coming back, I think it definitely makes sense to play more copies.
Yeah, I'm at 3 and 3 with Elsa Maui. Kendall is at 4 and 4, which again just maximizes your ability to contest this matchup.
Is it Simba time? Lawrence into the Inkwell. It is Simba shift onto the bodyguard. Of course, this 1-cost Simba was played this turn, so this Simba wouldn't be able to exert if it shifted onto the 1-cost. But Simba not going to quest, instead going to sing Strength of a Raging Fire, and suddenly NoImNot has no characters on the board, and Frank Karsten has 3, including a Simba which readies the aerial just for good measure. Only 1 card in hand for Frank. The bad news for NoImNot is it's a Whole New World.
Yeah, I mean, he can go with this line as well. I'm okay with it. Just because, like, on turn 5, it's mostly only Maui has to punish, and if he doesn't have it, you're going to be in a really good spot.
Yeah, and like really, it doesn't stop the Whole New World from resolving anytime. It's just it clears the Simba, right? So he's able to check for Maui this way, like you mentioned. And just maximize the value on the Whole New World is crazy here.
Yeah, Frank getting a lot of value from just all the cards he kind of drew throughout this game.
Mm-hmm.
So Elsa comes through, cleans up that 1-cost Simba, as you guys have been mentioning, a Maui here would be able to deal instead with the legendary Simba and remain on the board. So a pretty big difference between Elsa and Maui in this
huge
instance.
draw.
We need your Lilo off the
Lilo's
top.
so good.
That's the best card you want us to discard off the whole new world. Oh my goodness.
Is there what? So there's actually quite a few options with the Lilo. Of course you can ink it. Of course you could play it, but you could also just discard it with the whole new world. And then
I love discarding
back
Lilo.
down the line.
Yeah, I feel like I like discarding it. It just feels right.
Yeah.
If I'm Frank, I'm probably inking the Lilo. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It's going to be really interesting. But of course, if you discard this Lilo, you're then having to ink a card from your next hand, so you would have one card less in hand.
That's true. He does play 4 Lilo, so the odds are in his favor to draw another Lilo off that. I don't know. I just feel I like the. I also think that there's a world where you just don't ink this turn. Depending on what you draw off the whole new world, you could just play your characters and pass. Amber Steel is definitely a deck where you don't have to ink every turn, which I think is a very good part to that deck.
Aerial exerted, and it is going to be Lilo going into the discard off the whole new world. It seems anyway. I don't think that's been locked in just yet, but certainly seems like that's the plan for Frank, and it is going to be the whole new world. And Lilo will, as you guys predicted, go into the discard pile instead of the inkwell. So Frank Karsten going to draw 7 cards, as will NoImNot, but Frank Karsten is yet to ink this turn. And let's not forget that Simba on the board is going to be readying Aerial at the end of this turn as well. Draws into another whole new world, couple more Aerials, another Simba, a 1-cost Lindy.
Yeah, this is where it gets a little bit nasty because he can just kind of play some more cards and just dump it again, right? So
yeah, this is when I start to dislike Amber Steel as a deck. When they draw into a whole new world off their whole new world and they never discard another whole new world. Like it's so polarizing. I don't know how they do it. And then I do want to note that Kendall drew double Medusa and Maui. He does get to play one of them next turn, but only one. And if another whole new world does come down, there goes the other Medusa. And when you're playing Rubiam, you're very limited to your removal, because most of them are uninkable. And we've already seen him ditch a Tremaine, so that's another removal gone from his deck. I think every removal counts when you're in this matchup.
And I think this is kind of where the play draw disparity comes in, because let's say he wants to play Robin Hood, then Kendall can just respond with Medusa and really just shut you down, right? So I think it's extremely risky to just play a random Robin Hood here.
A rules note, which I'm sure some people are wondering about: what happens if there's 2 Simbas on the board? As you do see, first Simba quest. If 2 Simbas are exerted at the end of Frank's turn, they both go into the bag. Frank's going to select one of the Simbas, which readies the other Simba, but then the other ability doesn't go through as my ability. So they don't ready each other, if that makes sense.
Okay. And you have to ready every character with Simba, right? You can't just pick and choose. So even if you have bodyguard characters, they have to ready too.
I'm actually not sure on that. Yeah. Does go for Robin Hood over the second Simba, potentially open themselves up to, as Ed mentioned, like this turn 6 Medusa. But if Medusa comes through, from Frank's point of view, that means that the Simba and the Aerial are going to be sticking around. At least.
Yeah, I kind of don't like this Robin Hood play. Personally, I would have went for the Simba because there's just 0 punish from the spot, and now you get really punished.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about that one, Frank. I definitely wanted to see the. I'm glad that the Medusa was responding with there. But yeah, I definitely think the Simba is a better play there, because Medusa can come down on turn 6, right?
Okay, now might be a good time to mention the cast. I spoke with Frank before the game, and he said, please don't mention it unless I do anything weird, but he's not feeling very well. So if he does anything weird, he blame it on that.
Sure.
I hope he feels better. Shout out, Frank. I hope you feel better, bro.
He did tell me not to mention it. Yeah.
No, but these are 2 amazing players, both I'm sure in high pressure situations. This is they're taking their time to think about their plays. So
absolutely, and I think it's also for them. I think particularly for Frank, with the fact that the European Championships is just next weekend. This is just incredibly good practice for him right now, and I'm sure he's going to be looking back and analysing the games in very, very high detail. It's going to be Aerial coming through from Frank. Finds Let the Storm Rage On. The rest of those cards go to the bottom of the deck.
I think if he does this Lilo play, I think he's probably thinking about not playing Whole New World here. Because I think if he was going to, he would have went for like the double aerial Whole New World play. So I guess he's trying to kind of conserve his cards and trying to maximize everything before going for that last resort Whole New World.
I think so too. I think he's probably expecting a B prep, right? Because there was none that were discarded in the first round of first wheel. So he's probably just wants to keep like an aerial in the hand for the next turn so he can establish a singer no matter what. Is he saying I'm still here? And what do you draw off that?
Do you know what he targeted for that?
I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I think the lag kind of made it hard to tell which one he targeted.
Like, I think it would have been kind of good to do it on the Simba because I guess, Simba can ready everybody else.
Yeah.
I would think it's the Simba because it also contests the Medusa now, or they won't lose to Medusa.
But yeah, this Maui's going to need it probably, though.
So Frank now ahead in lore. Both players at 6 ink currently. Kendall, of course, went first in this game, let's not forget. So Frank's doing a really good job of making a game of it while being the player going second. So far we've seen the player going first win each. Again, the screens have frozen here, but we'll try and keep you in the loop as much as possible. Kendall.
Yeah, right now kind of looks like anyone's game. But I do think that Kendall is in a good spot because we're headed towards like 6, 7, 8 ink territory. And Frank only has 4 lore, which is I think that's pretty. It's a pretty good spot to be in. You can kind of push into the later game right here, but there's just no B prep on Kendall's side, and that's what you want to see on turn 7.
I mean, here in particular, doesn't seem like he really needs B prep. He can kind of just play these like play one character, banish one of your characters, and kind of just slowly inching his way towards victory.
Just keep putting pressure, yeah.
Yeah, that Maui cleans up the Simba and remains intact. When we compare this to previously, it was Elsa, which just dealt with the 1-cost Simba. This Maui able to answer the legendary Simba and remain on the board. Of course, quite easy potentially for Frank to polish off with a song card. The cameras are frozen again, so we do apologize for the technical issues. But we'll try and keep you as up to date as we possibly can. That Maui did just challenge Simba. Frank, when they start the next turn, will be able to go up to 7 ink. Just check the Discord to see if we've got any update here. Okay. Bear with us, everybody. Maybe a good time to mention my channel sponsor, Card Market. Card Market sponsor my channel, and I really appreciate them. It's a great place to buy singles online in Europe. If you're looking to pick up some set 6, and you're in Europe, Card Market's the place to be. I'm going to pull your guys' camera back up just while we're getting through these technical issues. If you guys can just let me know when to tab back into the game, if possible.
Yep.
That would be great.
Got you. But it's been a very back and forth game, man. Both players making decisions that maybe we would have different decisions that maybe we would have made, but still kind of showcasing like how good those decisions can be. I really like Frank's deck, like the amount of one-ofs and the way he uses them. The game's back.
Okay. Game is back.
Frozen, but possibly back. Possibly.
We have one more frame. That's all we need. So Frank, it's now Frank's turn. So what happened in the previous turn? It looks like Maui went into Simba.
There was a Flynn on board. There was just a Flynn.
Also now exerted. And it's now back onto Frank, who has sung Let the Storm Rage On with this aerial, you would imagine, targeting the Maui to finish it off. Again, our apologies here for technical issues, but Lilo... So Lilo, I think, got banished previously by Elsa in the last turn. We also missed that, but Lilo is now in the discard. Of course, Frank's only able to summon this Lilo from the discard at the start of their turn before they draw a card. So it's not going to be a possibility to do mid-turn. Keeping our fingers crossed that we get back in here as soon as possible. We apologise for the issues. What's this Lorcana playmat like then, having it framed? Were you nervous about getting it framed? Did you do it yourself?
Oh no, I did it myself. I just bought a frame on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I wanted to keep it framed because when I kind of paid attention, looked into it more detail, it kind of looks like the foiling can crack.
Yep.
Or something like over time. So I was like, oh, I don't want to ruin this. But I know some people are just playing on their Rapunzel mat. I think that's really cool too. If I could win a second one, I'll play on the second one.
Do you guys know if there's like another stream to click on here at all on the Discord? Just the one I had's gone down. I just want to make sure I'm not missing.
No, yeah, it's just this one. It just went back up.
Okay.
Yes,
It
I
should
do
be
believe
back.
it's just this one though, and the cameras look a little more smooth.
All right,
So-
we're back in. So Elsa's come through. Let's see. I think we missed one turn, or a couple of turns. We saw NoImNot in the previous turn, challenging Lilo, challenging the Simba with Maui, and then it was Frank's turn. They sang Let the Storm Rage On with Ariel, which removed NoImNot Maui from the board. And then they also developed a wide board of their own. Simba's back. They've got an Ariel and a Smee. Was this Simba ever... I feel like the Simba was removed. How is that Simba got there?
I think this is a second Simba because he used the Maui to clear one of the Simbas.
Right,
Yeah.
so this
Might have
Simba
been
has
two
just been
turns,
exerted
yeah.
by Elsa then. I was wondering, how is this Simba hit the board and exerted already? I think that Elsa exerted the Simba here.
Yeah.
So
That makes
Frank had
sense.
7 ink and spent 2 ink on Smee and 5 ink on Simba.
I wonder if they'll ever make any cards in Lorcana where it's like graveyard. What's that card? Discard pile matters. Where it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! There's like that card question. It's like, what's the bottom card of your discard
Oh,
pile?
wow.
Yeah. So it's like, no, you can't look.
Oof.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, we're seeing Frank like put the Lilo on top of his discard pile quite often just to remind himself that he does have that option of paying 2 ink before he draws a card. But that Simba's not
I know
nice.
that-
When you forget, probably nice. 5 Law to 4 as it stands in favour of Kendall, who did go first. But it's back on over to Frank, who starts a couple characters on the board with Ariel and Mr. Smee. Double Ariel, whole new world in hand. Are we going to see Frank go for that Lilo? He's certainly considering it. Don't want to go through the motions of that ready, set, draw too much because it's ready, set, Lilo draw. If you want to do it.
With 7 ink available, I'm surprised he chooses not to do it.
He's going to draw into the strength, but then immediately go for that Ariel. Will they still find another song despite just drawing into one off the top? They will. It's And Then Along Came Zeus, which can be sung by Ariel, of course, with her Singer 5 ability. This Ariel to the left is ready to sing a song, but Whole New World, Strength of a Raging Fire, also an option. Frank has spent 3 ink, 4 ink still remains. Really, really crucial couple of turns, I think, in this game. It is very
I
much
think
in
I'm
the
kind
balance.
of okay, like hard casting this strength, just removing the Elsa and using Ariel to sing Zeus to kill this or banish this Medusa. Just try to clean up the board a little bit before you set up this whole new world.
Is it 2 damage on the Elsa right now? It's kind of hard to make out.
I think it's
Yeah.
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like 2.
So
he can
strength will
strength.
deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that play too. I think you need to start questing if you're Frank, because you're gonna run out of gas. Like as an Amber Steel deck, eventually you're gonna run out of steam, and you need to play the whole new world. So you need to get to some type of lore before that happens. I think so. I like that play. Clear the board, quest with the Smee.
It looks like Frank's leaning towards a second Ariel, a third Ariel on the board. The first one here will... This one, it will find another copy of And Then Along Came Zeus. Frank is the man with a lot of songs right now.
I guess
4
this
in
Elsa
hand.
doesn't really. Or I was gonna say this Elsa probably doesn't really challenge any of your characters, so I'm kind of okay, kind of just leaving it there, and getting rid of this Medusa first.
Yeah, of course, strength now with 4 characters on the board can't deal with Medusa, but so can Zeus. So Frank has a couple of options there. Of course, Zeus is uninkable, whereas strength is inkable, so that might be a consideration of why Frank's leaning towards Zeus at the moment, particularly with 2 copies available of it. Of course, if Smee quests for Frank here, It will be taking 1 damage, which would mean Elsa and Smee could be trading. So it's going to be Ariel singing, and then along came Zeus zapping that Medusa. And now the question for Frank Karsten, the final question, is to quest with Mr. Smee or not. Both these areas were already played. There's only 1 ink available, so that's the last decision for Frank. Oh, they can ink as well. My mistake. So there's 2
I
decisions.
kind of don't want him to. I think I wouldn't ink this personally, just because you can kind of deal with whatever Kendall plays the next turn with all your singers. You have a lot of singers, and you want to do something with them. So, yeah, I personally wouldn't ink, but I think it's also fine.
Yeah, so 2 cards left in hand for Frank, who is currently in the lead, 6 lore to 5, but passes back on over to Kendall. Both players currently at 8 ink. They've each inked every single turn so far. Often you can see in these games, you saw in game 1 when NoImNot went first, he was at about 10 ink, whereas Frank Karsten was still stuck at around 4 or 5. But lots of ink in the inkwell for Frank, thanks to that whole new world which came through earlier on. And there's another one ready and waiting. Elsa, it looks like, is going to challenge and trade for Mr. Smee. Mana Medusa's then going to come through and clean up one of the aerials. Take your pick. Mana Medusa, of course, costing 4 ink. 6. So not able to go for the rabbit for 4 and the Medusa for 6.
I think Snake is a really good play here. Yeah, okay. I'm really glad Kendall went Snake here. I was a little worried because 2 turns ago he bounced his Elsa and not his Medusa. Probably thinking that he was going to get Whole New Worlded, but now that he saw Frank chose to not Whole New World, I think this is a safe play to bounce the Medusa back. It's like, because if you're playing around certain cards, like a Zeus, for example, you're giving your opponent a way worse Zeus target, and now Frank is in a position where he's going to have to either Whole New World or accept that Medusa's coming down again next turn.
Interesting decision there from NoImNot not to ink the Elsa either, perhaps anticipating if Frank doesn't have a Whole New World that they might just run out of resources in hand. But now, of course, that does mean that Frank has the opportunity, despite being the player going second, to actually get ahead in terms of ink here. So it's going to be Zeus sung by the first aerial. It's going to be Strength inked. Of course, 2 ink was spent on this Lilo. And now it is going to be the Whole New World sung by Ariel. Frank with no cards left in hand. And Kendall discarding 3, including that Elsa, which could have been inked the previous turn. So Frank is now actually ahead 9 ink to 8. And also ahead in terms of board presence and in terms of lore. But the longer this game goes on, do we see a be prepared in Kendall's hand?
No B prep. No B prep. And Frank got a second Lilo there, which I think that starts to become kind of important. I think Frank's probably going to keep inking so he can just keep spamming Lilos even if the B prep comes down. But maybe that's why Kendall was keeping the Elsa too, so he can just keep answering the Lilo every turn that it came down.
And the Simba can also just discard this Lilo as well. I guess he doesn't really want to commit that much to the board as well, because there's still that looming threat of B prep. So I think that's kind of what he's considering.
Yeah, you have every time you don't see your opponent discard a B prep, you have to respect that they're gonna draw the B prep.
This rabbit just being highlighted, I think, as a card which was discarded. Of course, with those webcams, it can be kind of hard to see at times. So no, I'm not just showing Frank. Just so you guys are aware. Frank and NoImNot are able to communicate with each other through the platform as well, so they're able to hear each other and make sure that everything is understood by their opponent. It's going to be Simba for 1. This is the 3rd ink spent by Frank this turn after that Lilo. It's going to be Cinderella, Ballroom Sensation discarded, but there's still 6 ink to play with. It's a second Lilo. Frank now saying, okay, if you've got a B prepared, you're going to clear my board, but I've got a couple of Lilos which I can summon back quite swiftly. It really does give this Amber Steel deck a little bit of help into these B prepared turns. Frank can continue to play more characters if they wish, but the question is, how hard do you play it into B prepared at this moment in time? Do you just risk it, or do you say, if your opponent has B prepared, I can still win, so I don't overdo it?
I think you're fine here with 5 characters, right? Because they have to B prep you. 2 of those characters can come back. Like if they don't, then you're in a very good spot as Frank. Because
Yeah,
it's
I
like
mean, he
this is
doesn't
the
know yet.
test. This is the B prep test. It's like a litmus test. He's asking Kendall, do you have it? Because if you have it, you have to play it here. If you don't, then you're telling me you don't have it.
I think this spot also showcases why I think the big Sisu is also very good in this meta right
Yeah.
now. Just to kind of deal with these recurring Lilos without having to give up your own board advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think my highlight of the tournament in the Battle of the Bay tournament in California last weekend, which Ed won, was your legendary Sisus in the final, just completely changing the game at times.
Sisu shift. It is definitely a good format to have the Sisu shift. Ed, when I saw your list, I was very relieved because I'm like, oh yes, we're back on the Sisu shift. I want to, yeah. Because I feel like people weren't doing it last format, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
People forgot about that card, honestly, in Ruby Amethyst specifically. But I think now it's a kind of good time to kind of bring it back.
Yeah.
Of course, worth mentioning, these deck lists were submitted just 1 day after Shimmering Skies was released. Sorry, is it Shimmering Skies? I'm having a brain fart.
Azure Sea.
Yeah. I didn't sleep
funny
much
'cause,
last night, worth mentioning. I'm on about 2 hours. I did just have a little nap.
Yeah. I mean, I did have a chat with like Kendall before when we were doing our kind of innate discussion about what to submit. And I think he wanted to play like more the Cusco Crab version. But after I was like, I think it's still like the Flint Sisu and just the regular package, just because it's very powerful, especially with the new Genie. I think that card actually is what makes these Amethyst decks kind of go off now. So I'm glad he kind of went that way. But he was very adamant about playing castles. And I think castles right now in particular kind of not too impactful. Well, I guess in the game that Kendall won, he was extremely ahead anyway, to be honest. I don't know if he needed that castle to win, but definitely locked that one up. But definitely feels like a more quote-unquote win more card in this current format.
Guess who's back? It's Lilo. No, I'm not dealing with one Lilo, but another one staring him down. And now Frank probably has that read that there isn't a Be Prepared in NoImNot's hand, so perhaps can risk at this point overextending and just hoping that there isn't another. Look at this Simba. Is this Simba shifted in? Oh my goodness.
Yep. Frank's just going to quest all glimmers here. I think that's the way you want to do it now, especially if he had to use a Maui to clear a Lilo, because Kendall knows, that the Lilo is going to come back, right? So what he's telling Frank is, I don't have an answer to your board. I need to start clearing your 2 lore questers, even if it's a character that just comes back next turn, a zombie, if you will. Quest all glimmers is definitely the move here. I don't even think you have to really commit more to the board if you're Frank, maybe. Because, no, you don't, because everything's going to get ready because of Simba. That is wild.
Yeah, Frank is just putting on a show here. The new Simba Pride Protector and Lilo combo is Frank's about to ready his whole board, not including that Simba. So that Lilo, which was just summoned, comes in exerted, which is a big downside. Well, Frank just shifts in his Simba, quests for 2, and when Frank passes his turn, his whole board of characters, not including Simba, will be readied. And then it's going to be all eyes on NoImNot, and can they draw that Be Prepared, because they need it very, very quickly. Frank Karsten looking to do the impossible and win this game going second. Okay, it's not impossible, but it's a very uphill battle for Frank. But they're within touching distance, 8 lore away.
I think some heads-up play that Frank could consider is that, like you said last turn, he didn't play the B prep, so he most likely doesn't have it. So he might be thinking about, okay, he didn't play it last turn, maybe I can commit here and kind of really seal the game.
Yeah, you're right, because he can basically put himself. He could put check on the board, right? Like not checkmate, but you could just put check on the board and just tell them if you didn't have it last turn, have it this turn. But Kendall does have 2 friends and a Chernobog that he can trigger. So I think there's a very good chance that he can draw a B prep here.
Yeah.
But obviously Frank doesn't know that, so he does play another Sami to maybe try and just secure the bag a little quicker.
It's a real balancing act in a position like this, right? Like you're wanting to not overdo it and overcommit to a Be Prepared, but then you also want to be in a position where if your opponent doesn't have Be Prepared, and Frank's going to know that there's quite a high chance that that's the case, considering the previous turn, unless it was like a bluff in the previous turn by NoImNot, which seems unlikely, and is actually going to extend into it quite a bit. And I honestly like this. Like, they still have a decent amount of resources in hand. They still have the Lilos, but now with everything being readied by Simba, if Kendall doesn't draw this Be Prepared, it's surely over.
Here we go.
See. The first card is not, but there's more cards to be drawn. There's 2 friends. which can be sung by Maui and Sisu, and there's a Chernobog's.
Oh,
So
he's
there's
just
a
going
lot
for
of
it.
cards.
Yeah, I
still
mean,
to
you
be
have to,
drawn.
right? You prep or bust.
We're not
Tremaine?
thinking.
Hey.
We're just drawing.
Where's the B
He's
prep,
got-
gentlemen?
He's got 3 more shots at it.
Where is it?
Because the only other option is just clear Simba, but that doesn't. It's just not enough.
It's not good
1,
enough.
4,
Yeah,
6,
it's not good
7,
enough.
8, 9.
He has to basically draw the prep.
Yeah, and Frank Frank played the 2 characters because if he does clear Simba, he still has lethal. Like he's still presenting 9 lore, I believe, with all the readied characters. So
Here comes the Chernobogs. Interesting to see the Chernobogs going first before the double card draw of Sisu. But Sisu,
Yeah, I
of
mean,
course,
he's
can
doing it
challenge
regardless,
as well,
probably.
potentially, or quest. But goes for the
Kendall
Chernobogs.
has he hasn't inked this turn yet, right? So he can. Oh, I thought he was gonna hard cast
Here
it.
we
But
go.
nope.
And a 1.
Where's your B prepared,
and
mate?
a 2.
Oh,
Oh.
and it is
I think
not.
that's it. Yeah.
It
Is
is
there
not
any card draw
there.
left? There's a Magic Broom, but is there enough ink? So you could go Magic Broom plus
True.
Chernobogs, draw an extra card. That's the last potential out. So it's
That is. Yep.
your
that
chance.
is the one. He's gonna do it. He's
Yeah.
gonna do it. Yep.
The
Spicy
power of
called
the
it.
Magic Broom, everybody. Behold. Ready?
Let's see it.
Yes.
The broom never
Right
lets
there.
you down.
True. Oh.
The broom let
And
you
it's a
down.
rabbit. That's
And
crazy.
it
I'm pretty
looks
sure
like
Kendall's
it's
gone
Frank
through half
Karsten's
his deck.
game. Now, what's really interesting is if the Be Prepared was here by Kendall, how would this game have ended up with those 2 Lilos coming back? It could have been a
Maui's
really
can
exciting
stabilize.
finish.
A little bit anyway.
But it looks like it's going to be the game for Frank Karsten. Well, there's a brawl still for NoImNot. There's also Lady Tremaine, which could take out some characters. But Frank's at 12 lore already. Lilo, Smee, Cindy, Ariel. That's 9 lore. With the Simba 11. So NoImNot has to remove a lot of characters. Starts off with a leader, but guess what? That can come back pretty swiftly. Frank's board now questing for 9. It's going to be a Maui,
I guess
which
he
can
doesn't
deal with
die, huh?
Simba. So Frank's board now only questing for 7. So NoImNot has stayed in it unless Frank finds that Cinderella stout-hearted. They can just quest out.
Yeah.
So he's playing to his outs, which is pretty good. I mean, he could possibly still win this, but kind of hard given that he used so many copies of Maui and Elsa already throughout the game.
Lilo's
Usually
gonna
those
come
are the
back,
cards that kind of stabilize off Lilo.
and it's Let the Storm Rage On, drawn by Frank Karsten here. Of course, if Frank's top card of the deck is that Cinderella Stout-Hearted, could still draw into it with the Storm Rage On, but has spent 2 of 9 ink. So, I mean, you can go spend 2 ink on Lilo, spend 3 ink on Storm, and you would still be able to shift that Stout-Hearted Cinderella into Quest for Victory if it's found off the top. So that's an option for Frank.
Yeah, I like it. I'm probably going to try to remove this Chernobog just to prevent 1 extra card draw.
So you're thinking the Storm might target the Chernobog over the Maui?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can tell that Kendall's really trying to find that Be Prepared, and this card kind of presents just 1 more card that can dig for it.
I think that was something we saw in my game versus Dale. At one point, Dale used like Bruno on my goat. Is it the Cindy?
Oh,
doesn't look like
he's going
it
for the
is.
draw. No, he's going for the draw, which is also pretty good.
Right, so targets their own aerial. I didn't notice that at all, to get that double card draw through. Interesting decision, that's for sure. That is a very unorthodox play, one that I didn't even know was, I never even considered such a
Because
possibility.
he could draw the shift Cindy off of that, right? Oh,
Yeah.
he could play it this turn also. He could play it this turn.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, could he actually?
oh no, because he hard
No, he
cast it.
couldn't, yeah.
Never mind. I thought he sang it. If he's saying it, maybe, but that's too risky. I think he just wanted to quest with everything.
Yeah, I think he just wanted more juice for later in case the B prep does come off the top. Then he can kind of have more resources.
Yep, Cindy's now going to sing Let the Storm Rage On. China Bogs on Maui. And look at that. Ed calls it. Frank and Ed, 2 Lorcana Challenge winners. Both in agreement that the Chernobog's followers representing more value than the Maui at this moment in time. Which just goes to show you what a great card Chernobog's followers is. And it's a big old quest from Mr. Karsten, who is now just 2 lore away. Of course, that Cinderella sang this turn by Frank, so they only got to 18. But with those 2 Lilos and Kendall, still no sign of that Be Prepared. Currently at 10 ink, though, so could go Rabbit plus Be Prepared if it is the card off the top. Rabbit comes through.
I mean, the problem now is
It's
it's
not a
still
Be
too
Prep,
late.
it's a Flynn.
Even
It's not
and
a
even if it has that,
Frank Karsten remains undefeated, is now 3 wins and 0 losses in the EU versus NA tournament. What a performance by Frank Karsten. What a deck by Frank Karsten. Commiserations to NoImNot, who definitely didn't have luck on their side in this 3rd and final game, but it was just masterfully done by Frank Karsten. From the deck build to the gameplay, it was a joy to watch.
A little bit of luck, a lot of skill involved for sure, knowing how to make those reads, and knowing that Kendall basically did not have B prep and how to go from there, or even just in the early game, like knowing how to like remove the board, certain plays. It made a big difference. Kendall was counting his deck right there. I don't know if you guys saw that. He had less than, I think he had like 20 some cards in his deck left, and didn't see a single B prep. And that's just how the game works sometimes.
Yep. Sometimes that is the way. Wondering if we can perhaps switch over from Video Ninja, guys, if you just want to leave that call and join this call here on Discord, and then we can chat with the players. Or maybe just mute yourself on Video Ninja. That's probably better.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that, yeah.
All right. Hello. I just need to sort my audio out. Can I get a mic check from someone, please?
Hello.
Cool.
check. Hello.
Welcome. So I was also casting here with Ed and Lorcana Goons. Of course, Ed having also won a Lorcana challenge in America. Lorcana Goons with a top 16 finish. We really, really enjoyed the game. I mean, let's start off with this game 3. We'll start off with Frank. Frank, you're going second, and you know the first 2 games go in favor of the player going first. What's going into your mind in this game 3 in terms of your mulligan, your game plan to try and secure this win while going second?
Well, often it is the goal to kind of break serve, and the like curving out and using some of the steel-based songs is a great way to do that. I don't emphasize a whole new world too much when I'm going second, because it's more difficult to get value out of it. But yeah, like my main goal is to curve out early on and use something like a strength or a Zeus to take back tempo and hope to take it from there. And yeah, in the late game, the Lilos were giving me some good protection against Be Prepared, although the card was nowhere to be found.
Yep. Yeah, sadly, it was nowhere to be found, despite many attempts to draw into it by NoImNot there. I want to take you back to the mulligan, Frank, on this game 3. Of course, with NoImNot being the player going first, Kendall mulliganed 7 cards. And I'm just wondering if that impacted your decision in your mulligan at all. You kind of earmarked 3 cards you were thinking about mulliganing, and I think it ended up being 4. I was just wondering if there was any difference in your thought process seeing that Kendall mulliganed so many cards, or if that just didn't make any impact.
It didn't really make an impact. I mean, I was thinking that perhaps a whole new world becomes more appealing if he mulligans that many cards, because it reduces the likelihood that he is able to curve out early on. But at the same time, if he completely misses any early plays, then I'm in good shape regardless. So it didn't make a big difference on my mulligan. I mean, I was looking for early drops anyway, and that goal didn't really change.
Amazing. I'll pass over to the other gents if either of them have got a question. Go right ahead. I can keep.
Yeah.
If not, go on.
Yeah, a question for Frank. Nice to meet you, by the way. I had a question about your game 2. There was a play on, like, I think it was turn 3, I believe, where you had Naveen, Whole New World, Cindy.
Mm.
Yeah, and you decided to play both Cindy's, basically putting yourself in a situation where you need to draw an ink to play the Naveen. I've been seeing the chat debate whether or not that play was the move. How do you feel about that? And why did you decide to, play into that you will draw an ink next turn?
I like to live dangerously.
Hey man, that's it.
But also like the uninkables that I could draw, many of them would also give me an alternative route because let the storm rage on. I can sing to dig one card deeper. The big Simba, I I could also shift potentially.
Yep, you could have shifted at that moment and sung the Whole New World that way with Simba.
And if I am kind of unlucky and draw and then along came Zeus, well, I'll just play that and buy myself a turn. Like the nightmare scenario is that I draw a whole new world, and yeah, that would be somewhat unfortunate. But I felt that yeah, getting potentially like a free character on board warranted the small risk. Maybe it was like 5% or so to yeah to draw that additional whole new world.
I've got another question actually in a similar vein. While we're on that kind of topic, there was another moment where you had a Whole New World and Lilo in hand, and there was an interesting discussion on whether you ink the Lilo or if you discard it. I was anticipating you might ink it. Ed and Kevin here correctly predicted that you just discard it and put it into your discard pile. Was there any consideration to ink it? Was that a tricky decision, or was it just always a matter of singing the Whole New World and getting that Lilo in the discard instead of the inkwell?
Inking was never really a consideration for me because against a deck with 4 copies of Be Prepared, having as many Lilos as possible is quite potent. I think the decision for me was between either just discarding it and having my ink open to play cards I drew, or to play Lilo and then sing a whole new world to already have Lilo in play and like ready to quest on the next turn. But no, I definitely wanted to retain access to Lilos for the long game.
Amazing. It's really interesting
Nice.
to see how Lilo's impacting the Amber Steel up against the B prep. I'm really looking forward to seeing if Lilo can also put in some work up against Ruby Sapphire, for example, because we know that's been historically a bit of a tricky matchup for Amber Steel. I think Kevin, Kevin or Ed had another question there? Possibly.
Yeah, question for NoImNot Kendall. A lot of people have been disrespecting Ruby M, calling it a tier 2 deck now. People kind of putting it on the bottom of the ladder. And right now, the deck list that you guys made was like, you guys submitted your deck list like 2 weeks ago already. I guess question for both of you, but I'll start with Kendall. Are there any cards in your Ruby M list that you're considering changing? I know the European Continentals is coming very soon, so I think a lot of players would like to know from both of you. Are there any cards in your deck that you'd want to play? Ed was talking about how Shift Sisu kind of makes a big difference in this matchup.
And don't feel obliged. You can keep your secrets to yourself if you want.
Yes, yeah, that too.
You're serious competitors.
No, yeah, I'm not going to Europe, so I have, really nothing to hide. I think like from this deck list, I obviously I wish I played more 1-drops, for the 8 1-drops, and possibly like one more genie. So right now, I think like my current list, like if I had to play tomorrow, I would trim 2 of the castles for 2 1-drops, for the 2 other brooms, and then trim down on a rabbit to play 3/3 on genie and rabbit. Genie is also just like really good, and it helps apply a lot of pressure for you, but also it's just one of the best purple cards in the game right now. So you need Genie alongside Elsa to combat other genies as well. So that's still like a 14 uninkable list. Like I would love to play 4 rabbits and 4 genies. Like you could go up to 16 and you would cut the 2 castles, but that potentially would be a little risky, right? I think. Big Sisu obviously would have been good at the end of that game there. I'm not quite sure what I would have replaced for it. considering how the game went. Like, let's say if a Sisu replaced a Be Prepared, that frankly didn't matter because I never drew one to begin with. So, like, do you add an additional? Like, do you play 4 B preps, 1 Sisu? I know Ed played a 2-2 split the other weekend in California. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure if I was to play a big Sisu, it might be 1. I don't know if that necessarily replaces B prep or if you're adding an additional inkable. But yeah, the thing to go back to the note about like trimming castles, there's been a lot of discussion on that in like some Ruby Amethyst threads and stuff, and I know Ed has completely cut them. Yeah, I still don't know if I like completely cutting on castle. That's why I would still trim down to 2. I still like castle in a lot of spots, especially with more Be Prepareds. But yeah.
And how do you feel about the deck, like meta-wise? Like for any fellow Ruby Amethyst enjoyers, do you think it can still? I mean, we obviously saw Ed take first place last week, but a lot of people kind of write decks off, I think, nowadays and just be like, "Oh, it's not tier 1, so we shouldn't play it."
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's been like a lot. We did just get Genie, right? For a while, Ruby Amethyst felt like it was so far ahead of everything else. And then each set, things have slowly started, creeping back up into power level to catch up with Ruby Amethyst. I still think it's there. Like, it is on the verge of tier 1, but there are a lot more powerful strategies too. Something like Lilo and Frank's List can definitely help grind out all the Be Prepareds. So, that's why Sisu maybe could be a consideration, because then you can utilize your bounce spells. You're not going to get grinded out by having to continuously Wrath or challenge into Lilos if you're just bouncing the Sisu over and over. But yeah, things I think have just gotten a little more powerful to catch up, so it's not so far ahead of every other deck. I am currently 1-2 in the tournament, but I think the deck has still felt fine, able to contend. A lot of the games that I've lost have been kind of close games, I feel like. So, yeah, I think it's still there.
Okay, thanks, man. Oh, go ahead,
sorry.
Frank. What about you? So go ahead, Ed. Sorry.
I was gonna ask. No, I'm not a question. So I think in game 1 you had a hand where you had the 3 1-drops, and I think you were gonna play those regardless. But you had a Fox, a Brawl, and an Elsa. And I saw that you decided to ink Elsa on turn 1. But when I kind of saw that hand, my kind of thought process for the first 5 turns were 1-drop into 2 1-drops, Brawl, and then a 4-cost draw card into an Elsa. So can you elaborate why you decided to ink Elsa on that first turn and play Fox on turn 3?
Yeah, I can't remember what the rest of my hand was, but I do know I was gonna play the 3 1-drops. Because I was on the play, I didn't necessarily know if I wanted if I'm gonna be brawling on 3. Because my only targets at that point would be a 1 or 2 drop. He's not quite playing aerial yet, so I might have been. I was talking to Frank about this, and his list he has a lot of different options on turn 3, right? For either aerial, or he has Shift Simba and Shift Robin Hood. So possibly I could have been put in a situation where he just has 1-drop Simba, 1-drop Robin Hood, and I felt like I wanted to be on the play potentially if I had Sisu, which I don't think I did at the time, but I would much rather play a different 3-drop. I don't necessarily want to brawl on 3 there on the play, and I had the Elsa the turn after that. So the idea being that I would just try to develop characters in the first 3 turns, and then potentially use the Elsa to tap down and make trades that way. I think that was.
I think you also inked
reasoning.
on turn 1. I think you also played Broom, and on turn 2 you kind of popped the Broom.
Yeah.
And I think we had a discussion where it's we valued, or I personally valued, the board a lot more in the early turns, especially against Amber Steel. So I was just curious,
Yeah, I think I had ended up drawing another uninkable, and at that point I think my option was Elsa. And maybe I think I just had Elsa in the 1-drops, right? Because I think I drew Rabbit into Tremaine or something. And so yeah, had I drawn an inkable, I definitely would have left it in play, but I didn't. So I felt it was okay to pop the 1. Yeah, I think it was double Broom and Chernabog, so I would have loved to have left it in play, because if he sings with Cinderella on the Chernobog, I can still like attack both brooms into it or something. Yeah, had I drawn Inkable, I think I would have just left it in play.
Also, and then,
Frank, I wanted to.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
go-
Frank, I
was
wanted
just
to
gonna say-
ask you. Very sure, Frank. I wanted to ask you too. Is there anything about your deck list, if you want to share, that you would consider taking in and out?
I would say don't change a winning deck list. So far, it has done very well for me. I um, I don't immediately see like obvious changes in this particular build of the deck. Once you go for Simba, you also want Lilo, and like a lot of slots are kind of locked in. There are, however, many different ways of building Ember Steel. There's even like 3 completely different Ember Steel lists in this tournament, and there are even more ways to approach it. And like all of them have merit, and I am genuinely not sure what the ideal way or build is. It's also a bit difficult to say because the format for the Continental Championships has not been announced yet, specifically whether it's open or closed deck lists. That makes deck building and like testing a bit more difficult. For example, my list has a somewhat absurd number of one-offs, which I think can help in an open deck list format where it just gives opponents more different cards that they may have to consider or play around. But yeah, without the knowledge on how that is going to work for the Continental Championship, yeah, it's a bit tough to say. I hope it will be open deck lists, otherwise scouting can perhaps become like a major issue and concern. People might not want to do feature matches and other issues, but yeah, we'll have to wait for that first. But overall, like this particular build of the deck with the Simbas, yeah, it has been working, and I don't see immediate changes that are needed.
I wanted to ask as like a follow-up question to that. So if it was like a closed deck list format, you would consider more like just not as many one-ups and just play like a more like quote unquote consistent game plan?
Slightly fewer one-offs, yeah. I mean, I would still like address my deck as being built with consistency in mind, because I play 4 copies of all the key cards, limited myself to 60 cards, and it's just a matter of filling up, the remaining slots when you want to have like this many songs, this many 3-drops, and so on, which does not need to be a round number, with some flexible options. But yes, slightly fewer one-offs.
16 songs it looks like is in there with Ariel. Is there ever a world you've like looked at the maths, Frank, on going to 61 cards with a 17th song, for example? Do you think there's any merit in that kind of approach in Lorcana in general?
I think there's definitely merits to playing a 17th song. 61 cards I would not do in this particular deck.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Thank you. All right. Well,
Frank, I got a quick question, real quick, since we're
Please.
talking math here, and you're somewhat of a math wizard.
Absolutely.
Off the top of your head, disregarding the mulligan, do you know what the math is on chances to miss a 4 of in your deck in the top 41 cards?
Well,
'Cause I had 19 cards left in deck, so I had seen 41 cards.
it
Someone write that
is
paper math.
approximately the chance to draw 0 be prepared in the top 41 cards is approximately 79.5%.
Yeah.
No,
0.79.
wait. Oh, It didn't. Sorry, 0.8%. So less than 1 in 100.
Wow.
That's no. Trust, we're all waiting for the B prep, Kendall. We're all just
Yeah.
watching you dig.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the
But yeah, it
cards
was
were
still
discarded,
fun
right?
games.
Yeah, it was pretty absurd indeed.
Well, on that point, if there was a turn where Frank had gone very wide with all the Lilos, I think there's a big Simba down, and Kendall, you had like double friends, Chernabog, I think then Broom, Chernabog. Like, let's say you have the Be Prepared like right at the start.
Mm-hmm.
What was both your thoughts on where that game was going to go? Because after, of course, the Be Prepared was missed by Kendall, the game kind of was over and done with, perhaps a little bit prematurely for the audience. Because I think it would have been really fascinating if, Kendall, you did have access to that Be Prepared. How are you both feeling about your chances in that game from that position? We'll start with Kendall.
I think the longer that had game gone, obviously, like, I didn't have B prep on 7, so the more Lilos he starts to develop, the rougher it's going to get for me, regardless, even if I have B prep, because I'm still going to have to try to win the game, while he gets to essentially maybe draw 2 extra cards a turn with the 2 Lilos out. Like, he does have to commit 4 ink, but he's not having to do anything, and he's already the one trying to be aggressive on the lore. So yes, I have things like Maui. I had already gone through a lot of Elsas, so that was going to be another issue for me. Even had I had B prep, I don't have something like Elsa to challenge down Lilo every turn. So the earlier B prep came down, the better it probably would have looked, because I wouldn't have cared so much about the Lilos. But the longer that the game went on, like, you were looking at, like, that was past like turn, turn 10, 11, 12, and I was still hoping a B prep to come up. And so when that didn't, and then I think the second Lilo, one Lilo's fine. The second Lilo, it was going to be turn into a real grindy game had I had a B prep to reset earlier. But
I was feeling actually fine, even if like there would be a Be Prepared on the next turn. I was thinking, well, if there is a Be Prepared, I'm just going to return 2 Lilos and then spend some additional ink to add 2 more ready characters to the board, and that gives me like a pretty good chance of getting to 20 within a couple turns. And even if there is like another Be Prepared, well, I'll just do exactly the same and keep up the pressure that way. So yeah, like I was looking forward to a few grindy turns like that, and thinking I was still favored. But yeah, it didn't even come to be.
Kendall, what do you think about It Calls Me to tuck Lilos back into the deck?
I mentioned that with El Rathion the other day, because I was like, yeah, maybe we go back and playing the 1-drop Broom from set 1, but It Calls Me can definitely, like, that hits multiple, and it's like a cantrip song. But
yeah, so for those that don't know,
I just don't know.
I'll just let everyone know that It Calls Me card. It's a 1-cost inkable action in Amethyst and Song. You draw a card and you put a card from your opponent's discard back into their deck. Is it like all copies of it as well?
It's up to 3, I believe.
Up to 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
different cards. You can put anything you want. Yeah.
Interesting.
Up to 3 different cards, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, in that spot, a 1-of probably would have been pretty cool. I think there's other cards I'd like to add to my deck before I would add that, though, is the issue. But
maybe in a different setup with like a Maui half shark or something. It Calls Me is getting a bit more value.
Yeah, if you're playing Maui, I mean, that makes it a little bit better as well. But yeah, definitely that card wasn't like in set 1. We used to have to use like Broom to break up Hades loops. So the Lilo is kind of like similar. We haven't gotten anything that interacts with discard in a while, but It Calls Me was introduced a little after that. And yeah, it would definitely help with that Lilo interaction. I think the ideally you're not getting grinded out by a bunch of Lilos like that, because it is a little expensive. Like, that game went on super long, so. But I mean, in game 1, I think you saw Frank some turns he had to, forego putting a Lilo back into play because he had other plans with his ink. And if there's something just like an Elsa out or something like that, he's basically just paying 2 ink on his turn to prevent me from gaining a lore. on the following turn or something. So yeah. I'll play it if you play it though. So you just tell me what to
Sure.
play.
Yeah, let's do it. Just one though, just one.
Yeah.
Any other questions, everyone? Any other closing thoughts? Well, maybe an opportunity for the players if there's anything they'd like to say. Anywhere people can find your Lorcana content that you're making and all that kind of thing. We'll start off with Kendall.
Yeah, mostly on my Twitter, just actual No, I'm not on Twitter. That can pretty much lead you to everything else of as far as my socials. Like it'll lead you to my Metafy, and my Metafy has all my other socials. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it. This
Please,
has been
guys,
fun.
spam that in the chat for us because we're streaming with a bit of a delay at the moment, but it would be greatly appreciated if someone could take the initiative to put that in the chat for us. And Frank.
You can find me on Twitter at Karsten_Frank. And most of my Lorcana content is on a monthly basis on the TCG Player website, as well as an occasional contribution to the Ultimate Guard blog. I would like to thank, Kendall for a great match. It was close. You all for surely awesome casting. Ellie for judging, and of course Pavel for setting up Pixelborn and organizing this awesome event.
Yep, I echo that. Well, it's been a pleasure, Frank, and no, I'm not. I'll let you go. Ed and Kevin, I'll see you back in the other call. But have a lovely evening, and Frank, wishing you the very best of luck next week in Paris, and looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you there too.
Take care. Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, gents. That
All
was
right.
a lot of fun. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's fun.
No, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. That was dope. Got to see two amazing players duke it out. I didn't even ask some questions after, which is very important. I felt like I learned a lot. I hope a lot of people also learned a lot. I think that's the best thing about these games, that there's just so many questions. Ed and especially thanks for having the conversations with me. Ed especially as well. I know you're a Ruby M guru, and it's really nice to hear different opinions. I think that's what's great about card games or just like strategy games in general, is that we all have different reasoning. But I feel like there probably is some correct lines, but we have to have those conversations to get there. And that's what it's about.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, last week I challenged Ed to a game of Lorcana, and he ducked me. He avoided me at all costs. He said, "No,
Duck them.
it's not happening." But I have challenged him again. Ed, is there any chance we could?
All right, let's get one in. Yeah.
Oh, let's go. I mean, Kevin as well. If you're down to play some, I need to go grab my deck as well. So no pressure.
Playing
No,
a two-game format or what?
Hmm?
2-game format? 3-game format.
Whatever you want, mate. How about 3-game
we can
format and
play.
you get to go first?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
sweet.
that's
Okay, okay,
confidence.
Wow, that is confident. I'm
I need
gonna
to
have
go
to.
grab-
I'm gonna have to watch from the stream, Spessy. Thanks for inviting
no,
me to
of
play with you
course.
guys. I have to go to work and sell some cards now, which
Oh,
is
mate,
always
well,
a
best of
blessing.
luck. Guys,
Thanks,
go
man.
check
Thank
out
you.
Lorcana Goons on YouTube. Spam it in the chat. Go subscribe.
Appreciate
Market
you guys.
report
Appreciate.
videos. I'm watching all the time. So
Thanks, man.
Appreciate
Appreciate
everything
anybody
you're doing, mate.
who's watching. See you guys later. Good luck next week, Spessy. The Continentals, bro.
thanks, mate.
I'm
I'm
really
just
excited.
casting. I'm easy. I just put my feet up.
Oh, okay.
I just
Okay.
get to
but
watch and enjoy.
well,
Let's
I'm
go.
really excited. Really excited to see you, Baker, and all the other people cast. I'm looking forward to it, man. Thanks again. Thanks again, anybody who watches, Spessy. You guys
care,
are the
mate.
best. Lorcana community goated. We'll see you later. You
Let's
too,
go.
Ed. Thank you so much. Appreciate
See
you.
you. Yeah.
Bye, mate.
Bye-bye.
Right, Ed. I need to go grab my deck and plug my camera in. I
Sure.
don't actually know where my deck is. I didn't really plan ahead. And then I guess,
I haven't changed my deck yet, but we'll run with it.
yeah, I'll also probably just run the list that Moyen submitted. I'm going to play Amethyst Steel.
Sure.
I'll be
Okay.
just a moment, and then I need to get my camera set up. I've got you on stream, Ed, if that's all right. Your camera's
Sure.
showing on
Yeah,
stream.
yeah.
Seeing it.
You're good.
Feel free to entertain the people. Plug your
Oh.
chat. Talk to them about Ruby Amethyst. Do your thing. Also, feel free to do.
Oh. Okay. Ruby Amethyst. Yep. Clearly a tier 2 deck. Nobody plays this deck anymore. Definitely dead. So I'm only playing it out of comfort. There you go. But in all actuality, I think Ruby Amethyst is still probably fine. I think as the meta develops, you'll be able to kind of see what trends there are. And I think Ruby Amethyst definitely has some of the better tools in the game to be more adaptable. So we'll see what develops. I mean, in the tournament, I basically played 2 of each card I thought was kind of good into the meta. So that's why it kind of looks like that. But I'm sure as the meta develops a little bit more, I'm going to start trimming on some of the cards I think don't really fit in anymore and start adding in the ones that, deal better with the meta.
Alright, I found my deck. Ed, probably our best bet is doing it through Pixelborn Connect, if that's alright, just because it's going to look a lot better for the stream.
Pixelborn Connect? I don't think I even have it installed, to be honest.
Well, not in a big rush, but yeah, it's probably just worth going
Sure.
going down that avenue, because otherwise it looks a bit scuffed on the stream. Yeah, we are still streaming with a delay as well, so unfortunately we can't talk to chat too much, but we appreciate you being here. So Ed is, of course, Disney Lorcana Challenge champion. I very famously got like top 500 in Seattle, so I'm sure Ed's pretty worried.
No, you're good. Honestly, results don't really mean... Okay, fine. I know everyone's like kind of results oriented because like what else do we really have to go off of? But I think a lot of it is also just like having good thought processes and then eventually getting there, right? Like I don't really think it's about winning or losing. It's more about, what is the quote unquote correct thing to do? And the more you're able to kind of do that, the more you'll kind of get there eventually.
Not playing Yen Sid in Seattle.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Was probably not. Oh, well, I had fun.
Yeah, that's all that matters. It's fun. So that's what.
Yeah, my favorite thing actually about Lorcana Challenge Seattle, because obviously it's my first one I got to play in after doing the European events as a caster, was not actually the event itself, but the prep for the event. The 3 days or so, I didn't get much time to prep ahead of time. Unfortunately, I just didn't have much chance to play. I was doing a lot of casting, so I was prepping in a different way, but I was trying to like build some kind of secret deck, so I didn't want to like play on stream. And then my last like 3 days of arriving in Seattle was going to like a different game store each day with Moyen and Alphos and Sky and Harlan, and just playing a ton of games with Amethyst Steel and trying to make it work. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Amethyst Steel is actually not in a bad spot. I think just Amethyst, the color in general, just got a lot of new tools, specifically Genie. And I think, you can basically pair it with anything and it's like pretty good.
Oh, interestingly, someone in the chats pointed out, Fit said it was confirmed it's going to be closed deck list for Swiss and open deck list for Top Cut. And Frank's been in the chat saying, right, I see the announcement 2 hours ago. Hope they have a live stream plan for when everyone declines feature matches. Yeah, because that's something I've heard about actually. Is like there's an issue if you're in the feature match early on. If you're being offered it, I actually felt kind of similar in Seattle. For me, I was the very first feature match in Seattle, and obviously I'm a content creator. I'm having fun. I want to go on stream, but then a lot of people knew what I was playing as a result of that. So that is definitely an interesting dynamic, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think here in particular, what's interesting is like in a DLC format, you actually have to win two matches in day 2 in order to qualify for Continentals. But you only need to win 1 match to qualify for Worlds. So I think there's probably a lot of value now that they said this to just have a more consistent deck. And if you're able to kind of get that higher seed, I think that probably is worth more than trying to have a good open deck list kind of deck. So I think going forward, I think that's probably what everyone is. I mean, I can't speak for everyone else, but I think for me, it's way more important to just day 2, right? With a high seed and, play like a polarizing deck that does the thing that it wants to do as consistently as possible. Because if you're able to just do that one time in day 2, right, you're basically guaranteed to go to Worlds. Okay, I keep trying to download, but it keeps saying there's a new version available.
It's probably because there's a new version available.
I just downloaded it just now. Is it 5.33?
I also might have to. I've got 32, so looks like I also need to download a new one.
I literally just downloaded this. Some technical difficulties here. Maybe I'll just put in a new folder.
It looks like I'm actually on 32. The 33 one might be the one for the casters, which wasn't used in the end. That might be that you're actually on too much of a new one.
How do I go to the old one?
That's a good question. Can you find 32 anywhere? Have you got it downloaded? Let me see if I... It should be on, like, when you download it from the website. If, I can make it work with just us, like this as well if needed. Give me a moment. I can just adjust. I can adapt. It just might look a little bit scuffed, but it's fine. I'll make it work. So I need to add this camera. Yeah, I can make it work like this. Yeah, it's all good.
Sure. Oh wait, okay, just kidding. I figured it out.
Okay, nice.
So actually, I need to set up with.
So you're going to be playing Ruby Amethyst. I'm going to be playing Amethyst Steel. So Ed and I are both the subs, or two of the subs, because there's a lot of us. So we're two subs. Did you finish like 9th in the voting?
Something like that, yeah.
Rip. Relatable.
You know, the people want to see what they want to see, and I don't blame them. You know.
Have
Maybe
you
I
played
just didn't
much
lobby
since
hard
your
enough.
victory last week in California?
To be honest, not really. I mean, it's only been like what four or 5 days.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I really haven't been going to locals as much as I wanted to recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, I realized the way I learned the best is kind of just watching people and kind of just thinking through the lines.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, obviously, there's nothing that beats, you know, just getting your hands on the cards and just playing, right? So I think there is some balance, and I try to go to like at least like the quote unquote major events, right? Like set champs, DLCs. But now that there's kind of this void, I feel like there's like basically 2 months of nothing, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe not 2 months, like a month and a half.
Particularly for you in America, right? With us up in Europe next month, and I think similar. I mean, for Europe, interesting. January is going to be the set champs month, right? So we won't have that same kind of feeling.
Yeah, but I guess a lot of the meta is going to be kind of determined, I feel like, during this weekend or this upcoming weekend. So we'll see kind of where that takes me.
Right, have you been able to get on to Pixel One Connect?
Yeah. Is there
So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to hang up this call just because it's going to otherwise try and take your camera. But when you go onto Pixelborn, you go to the play button, and then where it says test, that's where you can set up your camera. You don't need to worry about microphone. Maybe if you just turn your camera off actually on the call here, that might cover it, and then we can just stay in the call for audio. I've got a bit of curry on my Donald Duck. I've got a bad habit of spilling food on my new playmats.
No, it's still taking the camera, unfortunately.
If you hang up, there's like a call on the thingamajig. I can just like message you via Discord as well if there's any issues.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
Come on, guys, I need this win. Should I turn my camera on? I should, right? Where's my face cam at? I haven't had my face cam on this whole stream. Do I even exist? Am I even here? It's me. What's up? Turns out I do exist. Yeah, I this morning basically didn't sleep, sadly, but I got lots done, and I had a nap, so very productive day overall. But not going to be a very late stream. I'm getting an early night. Hoping to reset a bit, get some early nights, early mornings, all that sort of thing. You get me? I will quickly hide my screen while I search for a game. Apologies for the delay here. My OBS is a mess. Yeah, sorry for there's a stream delay as well, guys. So I can't even talk to you. That's the problem. Can't even talk to you. But yeah, we're gonna play some games against Ed, and then we will call it. Hello, Ed.
Think I got it set up.
I have a feeling your
once
microphone's
again,
not
to
connected
rotate.
properly. I can hear you like very, very, very faintly. I could call you on Discord maybe.
Hello.
Oh, that helps.
Hello. Wait, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's good. All right, I'll try to speak a little bit louder. L2. Or how do I? Okay.
I can also just turn you up. Can I get a mic check, please?
Mic check. Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Mic
you're
check.
more than fine.
1, 2.
All right, so I want you to go first.
Sure.
Because for me, this is a chance to test myself. And when I have a chance to test myself, I always like trying to go second. When I was at Pixar Studios last week, I went 0 and 4 with my Ruby Amber location deck. But I did go second every time because I think that's
Oh, I see.
that's how I like to test a deck and see how much I really rate it. Is can I win going second consistently?
Yeah, I mean that's the hardest thing to do right now, right? Like, and I think a lot of it has to come down to just like skill disparity. Probably your opponent has to make some mistakes to kind of win on the draw. It's very tough.
Or you play a deck with 4 copies of Fire the Cannons, maybe.
True.
That's my hope anyway. We'll see. No cut, thank you. I trust you.
No cut. Okay.
Would you like to cut?
No, you're good.
Get in. He's fallen for my master plan.
Oh, they don't have the thing where you like hide your hand.
I do. Wait, do I? Yeah, I do. It's you have to get like a verified streamer thing.
Oh, I see. No, I'm good. It's fine. I will keep 1.
All right, chat. Let's see what we're working with. I got. I'm muted. He can't hear me. So, the main thing that we need to do in this matchup, we're playing Amethyst. I should actually intro this for a YouTube video. Ed, I'm going to intro this for a YouTube video.
Sure.
Welcome everybody, especially I'm playing Amethyst Steel up against Disney Lorcana Challenge champion and champion of Battle of the Bay last weekend from California is Ed. Ed's going to be going first, playing Ruby Amethyst. I'm going second. How's it going, Ed?
I'm hanging out. You know, I got my trophy.
Oh, let's go. The Battle of the Bay. You know. I was lucky enough to attend. Obviously, Ed got to some Karsten with me too. Shout out to Card Market who sponsored the channel. Thanks, Card Market. We appreciate you. Great place by singles. So, my game plan, I need to gain some early board control. I need to fire the cannons. So, I need to take a pretty aggressive mulligan. So, instantly I'm looking...
Can you hear me? Mic check. Mic check.
Yeah, I'm just talking to chat.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to mulligan this. I'm basically happy with Maleficent. I'm happy with... Like, these are all fine. I'm always keeping at least 2 of these. Now... Everything else is fine. Like, I never keep Doc. I never keep Gantu. I could keep the Smees, but I really need fire the cannons. So I'm always getting rid of these. I don't think I'm ever keeping 2 Smees. I actually don't think I'm ever keeping a single Smee. I really need to find this fire the cannons. I also have 2 copies of Befuddle. The question is how much do I value this channel box followers? And I think I'd probably just mulligan it to really prioritize that fire the cannons. How many cards did you mulligan, mate?
6.
I'm going 5.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yeah, ready when you are. I'm going to keep shuffling, but no need to cut or anything, if you ask me.
Alrighty.
Oh, you found the one.
Inca Broom. Go for a turn box. Pass.
Alright, I'll draw for turn. Good thing I have 4 Fire the Cannons in my deck.
There we go.
I
Fire them up.
will ink the White Rose. And for 1, Maleficent. Pass to you, mate.
Yep.
So
Well,
already I actually had an interesting decision. Whether
think it
Maleficent's
is.
correct or not, it's actually quite debatable.
Flynn,
As well,
quest
it's
for
not.
1. And a pass.
Yep. I'll draw for turn. I'll spend my 1 first ink on Chernobog's followers. Gonna ink Diablo. Pay 1 for Magic Broom. And my first decision, I think I'm supposed to trade.
Yep.
So I was saying, like, I had all of these options available, and as soon as I paid the Maleficent, I was like, it's a good chance that's not correct. And I'm forced to trade. I mean, I would have traded with any card I played, so maybe it's fine. And maybe I value the card draw
Depends
more
on
than
your...
the 1 extra lore.
Yeah, it depends on, like, you want the lore or the draw.
Yep.
All right, my go?
Yes. The most important thing is it wasn't Chernobog's, because Chernobog's has now
Vanessa,
counted the Flynn,
play
right?
Sisu. Pass.
Yep. So I have 4 in hand right now, so I'll draw for turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 5 in hand.
Give me 1
is
second.
a big old thing. Of course, if I go Fox, it's extra cards in hand. So I can't actually stop the Fox this turn, which is quite alarming. The question is, can't stop the Sisu, right? If I go Fox and Ink, I'm still going to be at 4 cards in hand. Sisu's at 5. So that puts me in a bit of a tricky spot and how to maneuver this one. I don't really like the idea of questing and leaving them on the board, because Sisu could make a favourable trade, but maybe that's fine. Let's see. Ed, you weren't lying when you said you played correctly, were you? Felt you put
When I play what?
pressure. I like it. I'm going to ink. Am I going to ink? Oh, I'm going to ink something. My first decision is what on earth I'm doing with these. Because I'm either doing nothing or I'm banishing to draw. I think what I'll do is I'll quest for 2. Because I think I just have to get some questing power in. I'm going to ink the White Rose. And then I'll play the Fox and draw with the Broom. Pass. And again, there's also an argument, was I supposed to do it in that order? I have 5 cards in hand, so you see soon Flynn goes through. Yeah, there's an interesting question here again. Was I supposed to put the Magic Broom back in hand? Was it really the Chernobog's? Because I could have drawn... I could have drawn and then played something different. So I think this was probably a mistake.
Friends.
Didn't end up
I
mattering
know this
at all,
is sacrilege, but my hand is kind of unfortunate right now.
Yeah, singing Friends of Sisu, not ideal, because obviously Sisu quest for 2. Rabbit.
Yeah. Pass.
Yep, I'll draw for turn. I'm going to ink the Chernobog's followers. Just go 4 for Genie, draw a card. Fox will trade the Sisu. And I'll pass. Currently have 5 in hand.
Quest for 1. Play 2. Card. Ink and Broom. Brawl.
Rip. Poor
Quest.
Genie.
Pass.
So that's one nice thing that Ruby Amethyst has in these kind of Amethyst mirrors, is the ability to brawl a Genie. It's a pretty big deal. Elsa Genie is definitely going to be a common theme of these mirrors. So now I've got a couple of options. I'm at 4 ink, but I can go to 5. So I can either play Gantu or go Genie Broom. I think I want to go Genie at this point. Having said that, if I go Genie, he can Medusa me. So I think that's actually a mistake. I'm glad I slowed down the game. So it's going to be Gantu here for me, because Genie's just getting answered by Medusa too cleanly. And also the Flynn situation, right? So I could also go Goat Broom. I'm going to ink Mr. Smee. I'm going to play the best card in the game. It's
Gantu.
You know, the big man.
Oh.
Cranky Captain Head. Or Captain Cranky
Well,
Head.
I'm sorry to tell you this.
No.
But,
It's Tremaine, isn't it? No! Are you sorry?
no.
Draw.
3
I'll
in
go Genie and draw.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go fire the cannons on Mr. Flynn Rider. I'm gonna ink a goat, play a broom, pass. 2 in hand.
Play my own genie. I'm gonna sing Friends.
Mm-hmm.
Ink a Maui. And I'll quest. And it's YOLO.
Yep. I'll draw for 10. Cards in
4
hand,
in
please.
hand. 4.
Thanks. And Tremaine is a 3/4, is that right?
3/4. Yeah.
Hmm. Gonna quest one with the broom. I'll go 4 for Genie, draw a card. Rats. I'll draw a broom. One for Chinabox followers. I'm gonna ink goat. 2 for dock, no trigger. 1 card in hand. Wonder what it is. Genie's gonna quest for 2. Pass. 7 ink, 1 in hand. So here, I've just been doing some of my own questing. Like, I can't not quest, right? Like, the longer this game goes on, the more it's going to go in his favor. I told you guys I had to get that early start in tempo, and I didn't get it.
Play a rabbit.
But now I just have to develop my own board and get as much questing power
I'm
as
gonna
possible. I
quest
can really
for
afford to
5
challenge
total. 1,
at
2,
this
3,
moment
4,
in time,
5.
but hopefully I can find
Yes.
things like Elsa and Fox. to
I
start
have 4 in hand.
up to battle. Yep. My turn, is it?
Yes.
Draw. Okay, that's a card. Right, I guess we have to go double Genie into Genie.
Sure.
Maybe I should have waited on that. Yeah, I think that was a bit early. Gonna quest for 1 with the China box.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go 3 for Fox. I'm gonna pick up China box. Fox will trade for Tremaine. I'm gonna go 1 for China box. 2 for Doc. 1 ink left. No cards in hand. Draw 2. And I'll quest for 1 with Doc. Pass. And sure enough, my play that I mentioned with the double Genie was a mistake, right? Sure, let's fire the cannons. Would have had it.
4 for rabbit.
So I should have gone for the. I needed to plan my turn out more. I needed to. Not that it's going to make a difference, I think, in this case, but as soon as I did, I was like, yeah, that's kind of a bit premature. I will say, playing on this webcam setup, I'm a bit out of my comfort zone. It doesn't feel quite.
And I'm gonna quest.
What did you exert? Sorry.
Exert Turner box.
Yeah.
And challenge Turner box. And pass.
I'll draw. We'll go Genie onto Genie, and I got to fire the cannons. But then I got a Queen's Castle and a Pete. So, GG.
GG.
I'll try going first.
Sure.
That didn't seem very difficult for you, mate.
Tremaine on Gantu is pretty sweet.
That's true.
I think that was probably the breaking point of the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you wasted you took your turn 5, right? Basically play like a character that just gets removed, and I get like more questing pressure with my Tremaine, right?
Yeah, you had super clean clean responses to everything I did. It was like the Brawl on the Genie and then the Tremaine onto Gantu. And I didn't exactly have the greatest start either, like challenging with Maleficent and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the problem probably going on the draw. Like, I just get to advance my position like way too quickly, right?
Mm-hmm. No cut, thank you. Are those triple sleeved?
Double.
Double.
But they have a little bit of air. I realize like when you put them in the deck box and it has a little bit of air, it can kind of get a little puffy.
I had a double from In and Out in San Francisco. Do you know what? I actually had a double. I had 2 of the things. It was good. I didn't see the Golden Gate Bridge, but I did go to In and Out Burger in San Francisco, and then I went home. It was so wet. Disgusting. All right, good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
All right. So, you guys know what we're looking for. It starts with a fire and it ends with cannons. These are all pretty good. This is an interesting card. This is an interesting card. How good is this in this matchup on 4? Probably not good enough to hold on to. How good is this? Probably not good enough to hold on to. How good is this? I don't think it's good enough to hold on to. How good is this? Probably not good enough to hold on to. I want the 5 of cannons. The big question for me is, again, do I hold on to one of these? Probably not. I have so many 1-drops in this deck, it's not worth holding on to. I'm going to prioritize... I probably should prioritize the Chernobogs over the Broom because of the Flynn. I'm going to go for 5, mate.
6.
Alright. I will ink an Elsa and play a Magic Broom. I'm still shuffling, but I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, you're good.
Get the show on the road.
Let's get it. Ink a Maui, play a Broom. Pass.
Yep. I'll draw for 10. Fire the cannons off the top.
Pretty good.
Now we're cooking. Interesting spot in terms of what to do. Quest for 1. Gonna ink Diablo and play Chernobogs. Pass. I don't love inking the Diablo here because I don't have a good turn 3.
Ink a Fox.
Hopefully draw into one.
Turn the box. Yes.
I'll draw for turn. Yeah, because if I had the Diablo still, my turn 3 is so insane here. Right? I go Diablo Smee. It's just pure value. I need to be careful of Fox this turn coming from Ed, so I could consider drawing. Probably should. But if I quest with both, do I really want to draw with both? I can replay one of...
Oh, I can see your hand.
Oops. You saw nothing. Thanks. I'll quest for 1 with Chatterbox.
Yeah.
I'm going to banish the draw. Quest for 1 with the Broom. 2 for Smee. Gonna banish the draw, which I don't feel great about if I'm honest, but it is what it is. I'm gonna ink the White Rose, and I'll pass. 4 cards in hand. Yeah, so again, the reason I'm drawing off the Chernobogs and Brooms here kind of early is because I'm really respecting Fox, just making a favourable trade. Oof, that's a rough time for him.
And quest.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll draw. I'll ink Befuddle. 4 for Genie, draw a card. I'm wondering if there's a world I take this trade Smee Chernobog. I think I might. Controversial. Is there a world I do it? Probably not. I'll quest.
Yep.
And pass. I think it's almost good, but I don't think it's quite good enough. The reason I don't think it's good enough, guys, here is because while I'm happy enough for the Chernobog and Smee to trade, I'm overloading his removal. He probably wants to brawl me this turn, right?
Play a genie.
We'll do this. Yep. I'll draw for 10. And this comes back to my first game I played of set 6, where I realized the importance of Elsa in these purple mirrors. So I'll ink the Fox. I'll go Elsa, exert Genie, and then Genie and Elsa are going to double team. Smee's going to quest.
Yep.
And I'll pass. So 2 damage on everything. 3 in hand.
You go Broom. I'll Dragonfire the Genie.
Oh, look at that Dragonfire. Can we get a close up on that?
Ooh.
Nice. Right, already. And draw. Our quest for 3 up to 10. 4 for castle. One for Chernobog's. Pass. Smee is dead. 2 in hand. So early in the game for me not to be inking,
Go
but I
on
fit the
Chernobog.
on Elsa.
Sure go. Oh, Chernobog.
Yep. So I gain 2 lore for the castle.
Yep.
Draw a card. Elsa's gonna quest. Second castle. Ink Gantu. Play dock. Draw 2. Pass. 2 in hand. 6 ink.
Rabbit. Oh, this is not
Yeah, and a lot of people play library in this slot in this deck previously, but Queen's Castle, you can just
Elsa.
see why it's in the deck. It's just so much quicker. Right?
Brawl the Elsa.
Yep.
Challenge one of the castles. It's your go.
I'll gain 4. Draw a card. Quest for 1. I'll go Smee, Magnificent, and pass.
Yeah, I think you got this one.
So I paused for a moment just to
yeah,
make
you're
sure it
dead.
was the
I'm
correct
dead.
thing, but here they
I'm
can't
dead.
remove both castles and B prep me, right? Yep.
Good game.
GG. Alright, but it's the decider. It all comes down to this.
I think no, my hand was pretty bad in the beginning. I opened 2 B preps, a Dragonfire, and like 2 ladies. I was like, oh,
That's rough.
not good.
I hit the fire the cannons I was desiring.
Yeah, that helps a lot, especially like if your opponent has a kind of a brick hand. Just kind of denying like the card draw is pretty important.
Yeah, so when I was like prepping this list for Seattle, because obviously the deck got a lot better coming into the set, and I knew going into Seattle my deck was a bit pants, but the kind of idea is like this turn 2, when you're going second, having that fire the cannons or that befuddle. I was on 3 befuddles in Seattle. I was almost on 4 actually, but I think I was on 3. Just consistently going for that turn 2 of 1 drop fire the cannons to try and equalize the board a bit.
Yeah,
Almost
and that's a
happened
good
for
way
me,
to kind of fight back, right? If you're on the draw.
Yeah. No cut, thanks. Good luck.
Yeah, look.
Here we go, guys. Can I be a Lorcana
5.
challenge champ? Bam, 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 bam. We got the Specie cards. These I like. But you know what I'm missing? Fire the cannons. Now I think Fox is probably worth holding on to in this matchup. Because of Sisu trades.
I think in the Amethyst mirrors, yeah, going first is quite quite good now with the Genie Elsa thing, right?
Yeah, the Genie
Just
Elsa
being
thing
able
is
to
so
take
gross.
away so much tempo from your opponent.
Yeah, I didn't want to play Elsa in this deck particularly, but then as soon as I realized that was a thing, it's like, right, Elsa it is.
You have to at this point.
Yeah. I've got an interesting mulligan. How aggressive do I get? Like in most matchups, I would be if I had like let me mute myself. If I had one fire the cannons in hand here, by the way, I might even keep this hand. Like I love all of these 1-drops. Like there's no such thing as too many of these in this deck. They just draw and replace themselves. But I need the fire the cannons. So instead, I'm gonna go turbo aggressive and keep one. Maybe I won't go that aggressive. I should. Because the thing is, I'm putting back 4 1-drops, and I've got a 5th there. There's 16, so there's 11 1-drops still in the deck. I think I should probably keep one. Nah, let's risk it. 6.
6?
1,
All right, send
2,
it.
3, 4, 5, 6. Right, ready when you are.
Alrighty. I'm ink a goat. Play a churn.
I'll draw. Alright, let's slow down. And just because Ed's playing quick, I don't have to as well, right? First things first, what am I inking? Obviously never any of these. Probably this, right? I'll ink the goat. Now, another interesting decision is if I play Maleficent or Channelbox. I never play the thingamajigger here. Thing is, if I go Maleficent, I quested Maleficent, right? Even if I fire the cannons to Channelbox or the Flynn, I haven't quested this. I think it's supposed to be Channelbox. 1 for Channelbox, pass. And interestingly, someone played an Amethyst Steel deck in one of the Lorcana challenges and got top 16. It was a list very similar to my set 4 version. And they actually made a different play to this, and I think it cost them the game. I'll draw. Fire the cannons onto Old Flynn. Ink Goat, 1 for Maleficent. I think I'm supposed to trade, right? Going second, probs.
Yeah.
And the question is, would I rather have a Maleficent on the board right now or a Chernabog's? Or a Chernabog's?
That's a good question.
Yep. I'll draw. Yeah, these crabs, man. For the record, I wouldn't play crabs in this deck. These are Moyans cards. They did pop off in the game, though. But this is so slow, man. This is just... This turn feels like it's the turn it's all gone wrong. I'm very sad about this turn. Ink crab, play crab. Quest 2. I'm going to crab your Sisu. You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Ink a shark, go for the genie. Okay, what am I supposed to do here? Because if I... No, I have to challenge. It's too greedy.
I'll draw. Gonna ink Gantu. 4 for Genie, draw a card. Crab Sisu. I have 3 in hand, so it's a trade. And I'll give your Genie challenger pass.
Yep.
Please no Elsa, please no Elsa, please no Elsa, please no Elsa, please no Elsa. He never has Elsa! He has Elsa.
I don't have...
Oh! We got a game, everybody.
We got a game.
What do you think about that Genie Elsa interaction in the mirrors? Do you think it like dumbs them down a bit?
A little bit. I mean,
It's a bit gross.
there's
I'm
nothing you
literally
can
thinking,
do about it.
okay,
Right?
if you have Elsa, I probably lose.
Yeah.
If I have Elsa, oof, that'll be bad news for you.
Oof. True. It's Elsa Wars.
So my decision here is if I ink Smee or Goat. So obviously I'm going Elsa.
I
this
think that
time.
is interesting though. Like, especially if I know that you have crab, there might be some kind of merit for me not even exposing this genie.
I actually
I'm just
only
kind
ran
of
2
waiting for you to do it.
because this is. I think it's Moensis, but maybe I cut one Calhoun for one dock, like the fourth dock. There's two crabs in that list. Add them both. So obviously I'm playing Elsa. The question is, what is my next turn? And this is it's an important thing to slow down the game, because it might seem obvious, or just ink Smee, goat's better. But is it? Like next turn I can go Smee, dock, recycle. I can't go. I would also be able to go goat, dock, recycle, however. So probably just better to ink Smee. As long as I find an inkable, it's fine, right? But if I don't find an inkable, it is a lot worse. But I think Merlin is probably... Got a tricky ink decision. I will ink. Well, I can tell you to speed things up. I'm going to play Elsa, Exert Rabbit, and Challenge, but I haven't actually inked yet. I'm going to ink the... Smee. Pass. Obviously, I'm not supposed to do it in that order, guys. Someone's not going to be happy I've done that.
We'll go with Genie.
Yep.
And that's it.
I'll draw. Fox is a very interesting pickup. I could just bounce the Elsa back, right? I want to rush in with this right now. Quest for 1. 3 for Fox, bounce Elsa. Fox onto Rabbit. I'll ink goat, pass. Feel like I'm playing a bit too slowly here now. Like even with the Elsa on his genies, it seems like I'm just struggling too much going second into him.
Rabbit. Ink a goat. Fox.
Yeah, the rabbit draw power is going to be a big deal in like the long game, right? I don't play rabbits.
Yes.
So I do have the castles. Maybe I can fall back on.
Or challenge with that Fox. On your Fox.
Yeah. Got you. I'll draw. Six ink. Let's go Elsa and fire the cannons into Medusa and pass.
Sure.
1 in hand. Yeah, I just ran out of steam too early. Look at the amount of cards in his hand with these rabbit bouncers. It's Jova, mate. It's GG. It's already over. I'll draw. 1 for fire the cannons. 2 for dock. Draw a couple. And I'll go 1 for Diablo with pass. One in hand.
Let's go Diablo.
Yep.
And challenge it.
I'll draw.
Quest for 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Draw for 10. Cards in hand, please.
3.
Thank you. Gonna quest for 1. 3 for Fox. Fox for Sisu. Don't really like this. I'll go 3 for Pete and pass. No actions. Yep. Draw. Damn it. This fourth dock I've added back into the deck hasn't done wonders, I'll be honest. 2 for dock. Is that even? I'm going to take that back. I'll just go 5 for Gantu pass. Oh, also, sorry, I'm going to challenge that rabbit, my bad.
Yep, you're good.
Getting ahead of myself. I already know the game's over, but may as well play it out to its resolution.
Dragonfire Gantu.
No, my boy.
Challenge. What do I want to get? Friends.
Yep.
Hardcast friends. Quest for 3. Cabral. Flynn.
Draw.
3 in hand.
I'll go Chanabogs. Dock, no trigger. Dock, trigger. So that was 5. And we'll go 6 pass.
1, 2, 3. And quest.
GG, mate. Well played.
GG.
All right, so you've won a Lorcana
Play, draw,
challenge.
disparity.
You've won Battle of the Bay,
Yeah.
but now the biggest prize of all, you beat me. How's it feel?
Good. No, not really. Actually, like I think it's actually like if you can't 2-0 somebody like in a 2-game format, I think it's not convincing enough. And I think that's why like I'm such a huge proponent of not having 3-game formats because it's such a dice roll disparity. Like I think it's like pretty egregious right now the way it is.
Yeah.
And like that's why I don't feel that confident like going to the LCQ just to play like a dice roll format in my opinion.
Yeah. I am also a huge fan of the best of 2 format comparatively. I completely agree. Like that, even when I played, because I played obviously one of the games in this EU versus NA thing, I played against Dale. And the fact that before the game even started, I had to roll a dice, I really didn't like. I mean, obviously you do that in 2-game format, but it doesn't impact anything. So
yeah.
You say that.
I mean, it really has to come down to the actual skill. I think that's really where like the 2-game format really like shines because it's not, I think it takes out that kind of luck aspect of the game for sure, like in the dice roll aspect.
Yeah. All right, Ed. Well, thank you so much for your time, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks for the game and thanks for coming
Yeah,
on
of
to
course.
Cast.
That was
It's a
really
pleasure
fun.
having
Thanks
you.
for having me, and I'll catch you next time.
Yep. Take care, mate.
Bye bye.
Bye now. All right, everybody. I am going to go to bed. Simple as that. I'm ready to sleep. Thank you very much for everyone that's joined us. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed the stream. I will also be streaming. I plan on streaming tomorrow and Sunday. And I'll see if I can get some fun things organized. Some fun decks to play. Is anyone on thanks YouTube. Thanks again Card Market for sponsoring the stream, guys. Go buy your singles on Card Market. It's the best place to buy singles in Europe. Interesting to actually look at like the most popular cards. Genie, Gogo, Cajon. Lots of the cards I predict to be really good are doing well, which is nice. Maui's still up there as well. I feel like Maui half shot, the best is yet to come. But I'm gonna end the stream there on YouTube. There is some more EU versus NA stuff happening later on, so check the Twitch channel. I think there's one at 11 p.m. European. Excuse me. No, 12. Wait, when was it? That was a burp. There's one at 6 p.m. CST on V Wonderland stream. CST, so midnight UK time. So in 3 hours, check Twitch because there's another game going on. I honestly don't know who's playing. And I have a stream delay, so I definitely don't want to continue streaming with a delay. But I'm going to just get into bed, mate. Nice early night for me is the plan. Probably go for a bit of a walk first and then hit the sack. So thanks everyone for joining. Who should we raid? Let's see. Is anyone... We've got Luxcana. We'll raid Luxcana. Who does some cool Lorcana content over on YouTube and Twitch. I got to hang out with a couple of their teammates in California as well, which is really cool. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Hope you had fun. I appreciate the support. Thank you, Master, for the Prime 2 hours ago. See ya. Oh, wait. I just remembered that. If I raid now on Twitch, is the stream delay gonna... Did I mess up the stream delay? No! YouTube, I might have messed up the stream delay. I think it's more incest, but maybe I cut one Calhoun for one dock, like the fourth dock.
Mhm.
There's two
Yep.
crabs in that list. I think I need to let the stream finish before I raid, right?